Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. You'll get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And when I'm not asking Bruce, hey, how big was Batista's? Well, you know. One of the things I like to do is help people save money. And if you're watching this video right now and you're in a 30-year loan, man, you're overpaying your single biggest bill and you may not even realize it. I want you to do a little experiment for me. Take your calculator out, multiply your monthly house payment by 360 payments. That's how many payments there are on a 30-year loan. That big scary number, that's your total of payments. You're looking at that number? You know you can do better. Keep more of your own money right now and go to savewithconrad.com. Or maybe you've got credit card debt. Man, it's not a matter of if I can save you money with that. Your average interest rate on a credit card is more than 20%. And by the way, all the interest you pay on those credit cards, it's not tax deductible. Whereas the mortgage interest, well, that is tax deductible. So if you owe this debt, it's up to you how to pay it back. Doesn't it make sense to get the cheapest rate possible and the greatest tax deduction possible? Find out how much money you can save right now for free at savewithconrad.com. You don't need perfect credit. Even scores in the 500s can be approved, and it's no cost out of pocket. But maybe best of all, we're licensed in more than 40 states. We can help more families than ever before. But how much can we save you? Find out right now for free with a quick quote from savewithconrad.com.
What happened when?
WHW Monday. And now, let's go to the ring. And here's your co-host. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to What Happened When? With the voice of your childhood, Tony Schiavone. Tony, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm all right. I'm kind of road weary, actually. We have been doing a lot of traveling lately. Chicago in a snowstorm, and then back home, and then to Orlando for some dark tapings and back. And I got to thinking that my life is like a 747 flying to the sky. Just keep on going ahead. And sometimes I sit and I wonder.
What do you wonder?
How much do I have left?
Oh, well, you got plenty, man.
Yeah, we'll see. But I'm having fun. I'm having fun because of this podcast. I'm having fun because of AEW. I'm having fun because my good friend Bug, if you're watching on video, hanging out with me. And so I'm enjoying life, man. Thank you very much. Hope you are too.
Man, I'm having a great time, and I know we're going to have fun today talking about WrestleWar 1990, which went down February 25th, 1990 in Greensboro, North Carolina. A lot of moving parts here. Tony Schiavone is going to be jumping ship. Ric Flair is going to be coming to irreconcilable differences with Jim Herd and stepping down off of the booking committee. Lots of fun stuff here. Wow. And man, I wish we had more information. You know, the newsletters back then were just the Observer and the Torch. And Tony, I previewed a little bit of this show.
Yeah.
Cactus Jack is on this show.
Wow.
Terry Funk is doing color commentary with Jim Ross.
Right.
Johnny Ace is in the opening match. There's a lot of really, really fun stuff on here. And Tony, what's interesting about 1990 is there's a lot of moving parts here. The original plan, of course, as the rumor and innuendo goes, is that the show we're about to cover, WrestleWar 90, was supposed to be where we anoint Sting as the new world champion. We're supposed to be passing the torch to Sting. And right. Of course, it doesn't happen. He goes down. He's injured. We know it will happen later in 1990, but it'll be Great American Bash. But the original plan was here. Of course, he had earned a shot at the world title, and he was still a horseman. So the horsemen were like, well, that's not happening. And he still wanted to pursue it. So Sting's out of the horseman. But then what do you know, as he jumps down off a cage one day, as he's trying to hook it up with Ric Flair, completely tears his knee. Now, I know you're not exactly here for all of this, but what an interesting time, because on the other channel, we've got the build for Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior.
Right.
Which is really pretty phenomenal when you think about it, that these two guys started together at the same place at the same time and wound up both painting their face with crazy hairdos and neon colors. And one's going to take over the WWF and the other's going to take over WCW. That's like out of a movie, Tony.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about this, though. I'm thinking that is still about a year away. Maybe they're building into it, but this is right before WrestleMania 5.
No, this is right before WrestleMania 6.
It is?
Yes.
Okay.
65 was 89, and that 88 and 89, 4 and 5 were both in Atlantic City at the Trump Plaza.
Okay.
So this is February of 90.
Oh, yeah, WrestleWar 90. You're right. I thought it was WrestleWar 89. Yeah, okay.
And before we get going, you know, as we're talking about WrestleWar 1990 and just what an interesting time wrestling was in 1990, I guess we should go ahead and address the elephant in the room.
And
what was your first impression of Shane McMahon when he was backstage at AEW this past Wednesday?
That's a lie. He was not backstage. You think Shane McMahon is really going to show up at AEW?
Tony, you texted me that. I have the text message in my phone, and if you're not going to just share with our audience, I'll hold it up to the screen and let everybody.
Yeah, hold it up to the screen, you lying prick. Go ahead.
Well, now that would reveal your personal phone number. Do you want that? When I gave away your home address, you got all hot and pissed off on here.
Yeah, and by the way, thank you for giving away my home address because I get these. You're looking on video all the time in the mail now. And I'm really thinking about writing refused on them.
Oh, wow. So now you're just turning heel on the fans.
Well, I don't want to turn it, but your privacy is really important. Obviously, it's important to me and not to you, but it is. And Taz told me, he said, you mean you actually signed those things and sent it back? That's awfully dangerous, letting people know where you live. How do they know where you live? I said, Conrad fucking Thompson. He said, really? I said, yeah. And he said, well, that's kind of dangerous. I don't know if I would do that. I said, I've been doing this for years, man. And we got these, they got these brand new cards out. So
here's the thing. What is somebody going to do? Come beat you and those up?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I'm just being realistic. I mean, Scott Steiner has my address and he threatened to kick the shit out of me and I'm still here.
Right. But I would prefer that, by the way, that if you're going to send me something that you send it to the P.O. box.
Which is?
I don't know it right now.
This is a professional podcast around here, but I'll tell you what,
okay.
All
right, here we go. Ready? It's 880 Marietta Parkway, Suite 630-336, Roswell, Georgia 30075. Please, if you do need to correspond with me, send it there. Tony Schiavone here to tell you about the greatest value in the history of our great sport. AdFreeShows.com. Get every episode of What Happened When and all of Conrad's other podcasts early, ad-free, and on video for as low as $9 a month. That's the price of a Starbucks coffee for hundreds of hours of video and audio content each month. That's not all. AdFreeShows.com is home to exclusive bonus content, like interactive events where you get to ask me anything during our Ask Tony live events. And if you're a Top Guy member, we got to hang out for the entire weekend in Chicago at Top Guy Weekend recently. Did I mention there's also happy hour every other Sunday with my dear, good, close personal friend, Rebel? If you call yourself a wrestling fan and haven't signed up for ad-free shows yet, you a lie. Sign up today at adfreeshows.com.
And Tony, I know that we're not going to be skipping around a lot today because we're going to do a little 3-2-1 play. Mm-hmm. And from what I understand, we've got a new countdown from Steph Chesney.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same countdown, but he said he's going to slow down to 3-2-1 at the end of it.
Okay.
So he said, I know it's kind of fast. And listen, when Steph Chesney does one of these things, he goes into it all out and to the point to where he won't let me alone.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Well, I'm ready if you is.
Yeah, I'm ready. So we're going to, by the way, the Peacock, Season 2, Episode 1. Season 2, Episode 1 is what we're going to go to. And that is, of course, WrestleWar 1990. And if you're ready, Steph, I hope you're ready. Here we go.
You know it's all about your money!
Let me tell you something, little skinny motherfucker. I will beat your ass, plus I will beat your ass in video games. I know that you're freaking lying. How's it gonna feel to go back to Connecticut and tell the fuckers that an old 63-year-old man beat your ass?
It's a good part right here.
Hey, homeboy, gather around. Some serious stuff is gonna go down on the WrestleWar night. The kings of the ring all come together and do the wild thing. Lex Luger, the Steiners, Nature Boys thing, yeah, they all be doing that. The wild thing, yeah, they all be there with something to prove. Brimming with intentions to bust the move.
Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina. Tonight, it's WrestleWar 90, Wild Thing. 3 championships to be decided here tonight. I'm privileged to be working with the former heavyweight champion of the world, Terry Funk.
Well, I just want to say howdy, partners. It's a pleasure being here. You're talking about wild things. You know, maybe I could be the mascot, you know, the wild thing. I look pretty good tonight, don't I, Jimbo Diddley?
You certainly look spiffy, my good man. Ladies and gentlemen, we've already got a big story breaking here tonight. Teddy Long is alleging that Dan Spivey is injured and will not wrestle in that street fight. We'll be hearing from Gordon Solie and Teddy Long in just a few moments. But right now, let's focus on the 3 championship matches. The United States Tag Team title decided tonight.
Yes, it is. It's Pillman and Z-Man going up against the Freebirds. And who do you take?
I'm going with the champions.
Well, I am too. Now you take the next match.
Next, ladies and gentlemen, it is a tag team for the World's Heavyweight Championship, Tag Team Championship, the Anderson Brothers versus the Steiner Brothers.
I'll tell you one thing, the Steiner Brothers has dedicated this match to Sting.
Plus, the Heavyweight Championship of the world, Nature Boy, Ric Flair, and Lex Luger. You'll see it tonight.
It's going to be an event.
It is going to be tremendous, ladies and gentlemen. We are really looking forward to this tremendous night. 7 great matches, but with more on that late-breaking story involving the Skyscrapers, let's go back to the locker room area where Gordon Solie is standing by with Theodore R. Long.
Thank you very much, Jim. Yes, Dancing Teddy Long is with me right now.
Okay, hey, Gordon, let's get it straight, okay? This is Chicago street fight. It's not Dancing Teddy Long. It's Sugar Ray Long. So, Paul Ellering, get ready.
Well, all right. So you're ready and Paul Ellering's ready. But what about this situation with Spivey?
Well, let me tell you something. Dangerous Dan Spivey has been injured. He won't be able to wrestle here tonight. Now, he has been injured. You know I wouldn't lie to you, Gordon. I've never told a lie in my life. But I've hired another wrestler to come in tonight to take Dangerous Dan Spivey's place. Now, he'll just be in for the night. I feel very confident with him. I know that he'll be just like Dangerous Dan Spivey was right there. But I've got another big surprise, and I'm not going to tell you about that until later on, but it's a big, big, big one, Gordon.
Well, are you absolutely positive Spivey's not here and you're just doing this to throw everything off course?
Hey, let me tell you something, Gordon. Like I said, I never lie, and I don't have any reason to lie. Dangerous Dan Spivey's injured. He won't be here, and that's a fact.
Thank you so very much. And now to Gary Capetta in the ring, if you please.
So how about that open, man? First of all, I love the old school rap. I know it's a little silly.
It
It's
sucks.
1990 though. It's the era of MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice. So all of a sudden, hip hop or rap music, as it was called back then, boy, everybody is paying attention to it really for the first time. And I get why the company thought we needed to do that. But yes, it did suck. And then we saw Terry Funk, Lord bless him, do his very best Jesse the Body Ventura impression, but you could tell he was not yet settled in and comfortable.
No, he wasn't comfortable. Not only that, he was. I love where he is. He didn't say much.
Yeah,
That's who I agree. That's who's going to win.
he was in
So,
the Tony Schiavone position, really.
so yeah, of course he was. Plus, it's kind of odd that they came up. Well, here's the dynamic dudes.
Walking
That-
down a U-Haul ramp. They're walking down a pair of U-Haul ramps pushed together.
Yeah. So I was. It's the dudes.
The dynamic dudes are here. It's Johnny Ace and Shane Douglas. They didn't use their skateboards, which would have been cool since they had ramps.
Yeah.
Teasing like they're going to throw their shirts to the crowd, and I actually want to track the action to get started here. But
Okay.
take a listen, because you're going to hear some glorious sounds. When I just previewed this earlier, it stuck out like a sore thumb. Let's take a listen to the first little bit, see if you can pick it up.
Consecutive matches, you know that as well as I do, and I think they'll fare pretty well against them. Take Sullivan and Sawyer, though. Take their center of gravities. They're very low.
And so is their character, for that matter.
You got that right.
It's going to be Johnny A starting out against Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer here in Greensboro. 7 great matches tonight on this pay-per-view broadcast, including 3 championship encounters. Collar and elbow tie-up, and Sawyer muscling Johnny Ace back into the ropes. Nick Patrick, the referee.
Look at this, Sawyer. Let's see if we get a clean break here. This will be something extremely unusual for him, won't it?
Certainly will, and probably we won't see that too many times in this contest, knowing Sawyer and Sullivan as we do.
You know, I'm looking forward to seeing that jam sandwich by Sawyer. That's where he gets up on that top rope and jams that opponent of his between the mat and himself.
Side headlock by Buzz Sawyer, the 10-year pro. Been a World Tag Team Champion on 3 occasions. High School Athlete of the Year in Florida. His senior year in high school. He's a great athlete. Going to the far side. Nice leapfrog there by Johnny Ace. A kitchen.
Woo!
Is that Sawyer doing? Is that
That's Sawyer? Yes. Buddy, I was howling laughing this morning. Woo! Was so
Hey,
funny to me.
it's odd that we would have Buzz Sawyer on this because we were just talking about Buzz Sawyer this week. And I can't remember who I was talking to about him, but Buzz Sawyer was not a good person. He would, according to the people I was talking with, who are longtime guys in wrestling, he would go up to guys and say, "Hey, you look pretty good." And I don't know if this is in later years, but you look pretty good. I can train you, but I'm going to need like $100. And he would take their $100, and next time you see him, he would ignore them.
He ripped off the Undertaker the same way.
Did he really? Yeah, he ripped off a lot of people. And I can tell you this from my years of being in the garage at Jim Crockett Promotions, you know, the makeshift studio that we had. And Buzz, when I first started, Buzz was back there and doing the interviews and everything. Buzz, he always had the cotton mouth, so he spit all the time when he was screaming. And he would spit all over the microphone. He'd spit all over me, and he smelled terrible. He was just a terrible person to be around. Now, he was very nice, very cordial to me, I should say, but just, yeah, he was a mad dog. He foamed at the mouth. What's Sullivan got hooked on him here?
The most colorful, I don't know. Would you call that a ponytail, a braid?
I don't know. It's something like from Lance Archer's getup.
I want to mention the reason Spivey's not here, which we heard about from Teddy Long. Meltzer would say this past week, Dan Spivey went AWOL. He missed the TV tapings Monday night in Rainsville, Alabama, and Tuesday night in Gainesville, Georgia, without even calling to let the office know ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
He also missed his house show dates for the rest of the week, and as of the weekend, he hadn't returned. If Spivey doesn't appear on the WWF or on the pay-per-view show, you can assume he was fired. The tentative replacement plan for the pay-per-view should be Spivey, with Spivey not there. Blah, 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 blah. So the concept is your boy went AWOL.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something he was necessarily known for, which is kind of interesting here.
It is. Yeah, because Danny was a pretty quality guy, dependable guy, most people thought. Did they ever discover why he went AWOL?
I don't know. I was hoping you knew.
I wasn't at the company this time. I was close.
Yeah, but you knew Mr. Spivey, and I have never actually met him.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, you read the dirt sheets and I don't. So there's another one. You would have the dirt before I would. That's what I mean. Since you're reading the sheets,
you're allowed to read them. They're available for people. You know.
Oh, I know. I subscribe to the Observer. Never read it, but I subscribe to it.
Oh God! So you just want to give him money? Why don't you just give him $100 handshake when you see him backstage at AEW?
I've never seen him backstage at AEW. That's another lie.
That's not what the internet says. The internet says that he's on payroll.
Okay, so boy, you're just throwing lies out here.
No, that's what the internet says, Tony.
Yeah, well, that's what the WWE fanboys say.
I haven't been backstage in an AEW show in years.
You're just lying, man. You just lying bullshit.
When was the last time you saw me backstage at an AEW show?
Was in Jacksonville.
What year?
2020, 21. I don't know.
No, see, years. That's my point. Years.
Okay. No, we're talking about Meltzer now, not being backstage.
That's what I'm saying. Meltzer's been there ever since.
No, he's not. He's never been backstage at all.
I heard he flies in on Tony's jet.
Well, there you go. So you know what? You are taking lies from the internet and making them truths here on this podcast.
I was asking you to
fine.
Which
which was fine. You're a bullshit artist. I get it. It's part of your charm.
Bullshit artist. This is just hurtful.
Oh, sorry. Don't mean to be hurtful.
This show, by the way, is, I guess, the last pay-per-view that you missed for the company, right?
Yeah. This is the time that, around the time that they were getting in touch with me, and I was going through that list of should I go, should I stay type thing.
Because you were back for the next one, which is Capital Combat 1990. So
that's
I'm
right.
sure you're thinking as you leave Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior, and you come back, and here comes fucking RoboCop. Boy, I made a great decision here.
Yeah, I was thinking about putting a bullet in my head, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's not too late.
It's never too late.
No, I didn't mean for that. I mean,
okay,
you to try to get your gig back with Vince.
Oh, you mean like right now as we talking today?
Yeah.
Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to go? Why would I want to go work for a place who would fire his own son?
He did. Well, now hang on. Now you said earlier that he wasn't at AEW.
Well, he's not. Just because you get fired from one company doesn't mean you're going to show up for us.
Now, hang on. How do you
What's
know?
Wrong with your? What's wrong with your fucking logic?
How do you know?
You got the internet and the social media all so far up your ass that you're spitting out bullshit.
So
you don't know what you're talking about.
Shane McMahon's not fired. You fucking goof. Where'd you hear that? Did one of the McMahons hit you up and tell you, I had to fire my goddamn son?
Well, that's what the talk was all week.
Oh, really?
Shane's been fired. Yeah.
So now when I say something's on the internet, I'm full of shit, but then you say it and it's a fact.
No, I didn't say it was on the internet. I'm saying that people backstage told me that.
He didn't get fired. That's what it was.
Okay, so what happened to him?
He's not an on-air character.
Okay.
Right now.
And why in the world? Oh, so if he didn't get fired, why would you say he showed up backstage at AEW? What do you think this is?
I was bullshitting. I was trying to have fun.
You think this 2001?
No, I did hear he's restarting WCW, and I was hoping that you would jump over there with him.
Oh, shit. I'm going nowhere, buddy. I love my position in life.
Well, he's already got Larry Zbyszko under contract. Going to be Tuesday Night Titans, Larry Zbyszko and Tony Schiavone.
Oh, no, it'll probably be Zbyszko and Tenay.
Oh, that would be huge, dude.
Wouldn't that be huge?
I can't wait.
I can't wait either. I wish them much.
Siri, tell Jeff Jarrett that we need Tenay and Zbyszko for our new Tuesday Night Titans promotion. Tenay and Zbyszko. Credit Tony Schiavone. Thank you. All right, all set.
You you eventually are going to go into promoting wrestling yourself.
No, I'm not.
Do know that. Oh, yeah, you are. Oh, yeah.
I'm definitely not doing that, Tony.
Okay, so here's the deal. This, as we're watching, and I apologize to the dynamic dudes
and their fans. They're great fans.
Yeah, and the ghost of Buzz Sawyer, and of course my buddy Kevin Sullivan. I apologize. We're talking about this, but you started out very humble beginnings in wrestling, doing Bruce Pritchard. Well, actually Ric Flair. Then you went to Pritchard. I got aboard, and now look how big it is.
That's what she said.
Look how big ad-free shows is. Look how big you're going to eventually. You and Bischoff and Jarrett are going to start promoting wrestling. You're going to have your own show. I got it. I understand.
Can't wait. I'll tell you this, we're coming for you, Tony Schiavone.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere, buddy.
No, I'm not going to hire you. I mean, we're going to make you say, butts and seats about our programming.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to.
Oh, we hear the son of the chairman is going to become their world champion tonight. That'll put some butts in the seats.
That's funny.
So, by the way, this show we're watching, Kevin Sullivan was not the original opponent. He was supposed to be not on this card. It was supposed to be Buzz Sawyer in the Great Muta.
Oh, okay.
He's a replacement. And by the way, 2.5 stars is the rating that Meltzer gave this.
Yeah.
And unbelievably, Buzz Sawyer is going to get a clean win over Johnny Ace. And Meltzer would say Ace was none too happy about this finish, which certainly puts his future in jeopardy. As a reminder, we're just a couple of weeks after Clash of the Champions 10, the Texas shootout that happened in Corpus Christi, February 6th. 3,000 fans here, total sellout. But this is where ultimately Sting would get injured. And now here we are on the 25th. So as we said, just a couple weeks later, this was supposed to be Sting's big night. this thing is snake bit. But we're here in the home of Starrcade, Greensboro. And that's where this is the show you should have come back for, not them Capital Combat with RoboCop.
I should have never come back.
Well, there's that. We're glad you did, though. We had some fun. Let's take a listen to this.
Oh.
Here with Norman the Lunatic. And Norman, you have a match coming up with Cactus Jack Manson, and I wish you luck.
Oh, thank you very much, Missy. You know something, Missy? You look a lot like my sister.
Oh, well, thank you.
She's a lot bigger than you, though.
Well, I'm sure she's pretty.
Well, she's kind of pretty. You know, if she was here, I bet she'd give me a nice hug for good luck. You want to give me a hug?
Okay.
Oh.
I hope that brings you some luck, Norman.
Hey, you know, I bet if you give me a kiss, I'd have all kinds of luck.
Okay.
You know what? One more, I'd have real good luck if you give me one more of those kisses over here.
Well, I think the bell's ringing, and let's go to the ring right now. I think I was just saved by the bell.
Saved by the Bell, of course, is a huge show on NBC at the time. And here comes Cactus Jack. Let's listen to this.
The contest is a special attraction. It is set for one fall. Introducing first, from Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. Weighing 264 pounds, Cactus Jack Manson.
Now, I wanted to make such a big deal of this because unless you count Super Clash, and you really shouldn't, this is Cactus Jack's pay-per-view debut.
Okay.
It's certainly his first pay-per-view with WWF or WCW, but Super Clash kind of was what it was. But it's a cool thing to see. Hey, man, this is Cactus Jack's first pay-per-view in the big time.
He was called Cactus Jack Manson, and he did have kind of a Charles Manson look about him, didn't he, in his face?
He did, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's, I guess, why he did it. And this Norman thing, man.
By the way, Terry Funk would say as he's coming to the ring, that he has the body. Norman has the body of Roseanne, which is again a hit show at the time. And
right.
I want to read some recap of what's going on as we build here. Meltzer would say the NWA deserves a lot of credit for how it handled the Sting situation. I've gotten a ton of calls from people saying the TBS show on February 17th was the best show in years. They did an angle where the Horseman warned Lex Luger not to accept the title match. Ole and Arn did an angle with the Steiners where Arn DDTs Rick on the podium and hit Scott with the belt. Ole is awesome on interviews, but we didn't have to watch him wrestle. Luger came back and clotheslined all three Horsemen at the end of the show when asked if he had an answer for him on whether or not he was stepping out of the February 25th match. So, I mean, listen, as good as they can do here, you know, if we don't have Sting, let's insert Lex Luger. That seems like a logical thing for me.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you agree, Tony.
Yeah, I do.
I also want to mention you're working for Titan at the time, and the original plan in this era was we were going to have Mike Tyson on Saturday night's main event. And then, of course, we know, well, Buster Douglas knocked his ass out.
Right.
And now the company was scrambling because that was not the plan. Buster Douglas was supposed to just be a tomato can that got crushed.
Right.
But now that Tyson's been humiliated, he does not want to appear on Saturday night's main event. And so now Vince is sent scrambling and he gets Buster Douglas, but Douglas was asking for $100,000.
Wow.
Plus some other perks. And Meltzer would say that dollar figure was in line with the amount that Tyson was going to earn. But there were a lot of newspapers who were saying he's asking for $1 million. And obviously Meltzer says that was never going to happen. What do you remember about the whole Tyson Douglas thing while you were still there in the WWF?
I remember there was scrambling, obviously, when Tyson lost. And I believe, am I right, that he ended up facing Macho Man? Buster Douglas did?
He was a special guest referee for Hogan Savage.
Right.
And then afterwards he knocked out.
He knocked out Savage because what I remember was Savage had to tell him to punch him.
Yeah. Like for real.
Right. Yeah. Savage. I mean, you could see Savage actually go to him and said, "Hit me."
Yeah.
So he did. But that's about all I remember of it. That they were really scrambling because of what had happened. I mean, it shocked the Buster Douglas thing was really one of the more shocking things ever in boxing, really, if you think about it, right?
The Tuesday,
Mike Tyson was just mowing people down at that time.
It was the biggest upset in the history of sports at that point.
Yeah, I agree. One of them, at least.
Well, certainly in boxing, it had to be the biggest.
In boxing, yeah, in boxing. I mean, it was. I still go with the USA hockey win in 1980, but that was, the Buster Douglas thing just shocked everybody. Hey, I want to say, I believe that is, if I'm right, front row here, John Hitchcock and his guys.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In Greensboro. You see with the white hat on right behind Nick Patrick? John was a long time.
Not Nick Patrick, is it?
No, that's the other guy. So good.
Oh,
see, Hitchcock's got the white hat on.
I see.
So I think he's like,
he wrote a book,
Yeah, something about blubber or something like that. I don't know.
I thought it was like fourth row. Oh man, Cactus Jack looked like he was going to tear up those knees or ankles right there. But he's back up.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to mention Sting. This is directly from the Observer. Sting underwent major knee surgery this past Tuesday in Birmingham to repair the freak injury that occurred at the Clash of the Champions the prior week. The injury, to repair a torn patella tendon, was considered serious enough that Dr. Jim Andrews, one of the nation's most respected knee surgeons, recommended that Sting stay out of action until at least the middle of August. This leaves the NWA in a position of having to go 5.5 months without the wrestler they had built the babyface side around. Sting has told others that he expects to be back in the ring ahead of schedule, and there's even some talk of him returning for the July pay-per-view card. And we know that's where it would be, and that's where he beats Ric Flair. So it's an interesting time, man, because, it's just like the NFL. Nobody can ever really predict exactly what's going to happen. And you would say, well, on paper, they're certainly the best team. Yeah, but can they survive the injuries?
Right.
And in the NFL, it often just becomes a war of attrition. How many of your guys are there at the end, and he who keeps his team together the most is maybe most likely to win?
Right.
Man, with Sting going down, everybody had to be scratching their head.
Yeah, that obviously was a tough time for him. And it's, it's always a tough time when you have injuries. We've had our share of injuries with Ray Phoenix. Kenny Omega's on the shelf, trying to recoup from some work on his knee and his shoulder. And, John Moxley had his personal problems. So, we're a team, and it's really tough. Hey, I'm noticing here how comparatively later in his career, but how lean Cactus Jack is here. He looks pretty damn good.
Yeah, absolutely. They introduced him as being 265 pounds, and obviously later he would be introduced about 20 pounds heavier.
Yeah, right. Well, it happens to all of us. The older you get, things happen like that. Interesting about it, I think Norman was working with us when I first came back, but he didn't stick around long. This was a very interesting time in WCW. And I say that because Jim Herd, to me, and I didn't realize this, but he obviously we've well established it here on this program that he ruled by being a combative guy.
Yeah, he was a tyrant.
He was a tyrant. He ruled by pissing people off and getting people mad. And that being said, at his very core, if you got him away from the office, he was a pretty cool guy. He really was.
And he did a lot of good things for WCW that nobody ever gives him credit for. And I know we're going to talk a lot about her today, but take a look at the ring post, Tony. When we get another shot of him, we would see years later Slim Jim's Halloween Havoc, and those ring posts would be wrapped and sponsored by Slim Jim.
Right.
But during the Jim Herd era, we had two separate sponsors. One was Coors Light.
Right.
And you would see those ring posts wrapped as sponsored by Coors Light. Process what I'm saying there. A major beer brand is a sponsor of professional wrestling.
Right.
Like that does not happen. I mean, that's just, that is like a holy grail sponsor. And what's on there today is Ruse. Now listen, you can say what you want of Ruse, but when was the last time there was a shoe sponsor Like, seriously, a sneaker deal.
Right.
Imagine if all of a sudden, AEW's ring posts were Nike logoed. That's a big deal. Yeah. And these are new sponsorship opportunities, under Herd's tutelage. They got M&M Mars, they got Ruse, they got Coors. He knew how to sell and finagle television sponsorships. So,
right.
And on his watch, we saw Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat. We saw Ric Flair and Terry Funk. We saw Sting become the man. We saw the Steiners rise to prominence. We saw Vader come in. So I think a lot of times when people talk about Herd, and I get it, he was a prickly pear to say the least, but it wasn't all bad. He did some good stuff here for the promotion.
And I agree with all of that. However, what I'm thinking of here is the fact that, and I really think Sting deserved to be the next big thing in WCW at the time. But I wonder if it was them wanting Sting to be the next big thing or Herd just wanting to get rid of Ric Flair. It seemed like to me that Herd had this thing about wanting to move on from Flair. He thought that Flair's time was done and that the WCW had to go a different direction without Flair. And he was so dead set against that. And he was wrong. We know he was wrong. But it seemed like he was really dead set against that. Did you get that feeling talking to him? I mean, I know Flair feels that way, right?
I mean, I think he was just, he had seen what Flair on top did for business, and they were still losing money. So maybe they needed to reshuffle the deck and have him some better opponents. I mean, I've always understood it to be, and listen, there's some really good stuff that happens in WCW in 88 and 89 and 90 and 91 and 92 and 93 and 94. But it's not until 95 they show a profit.
Right.
I mean, literally $1 a profit. That they never made any money. Think about that. How many times would you continue to go to work, year after year after year, day after day, month in, month out, week in, week out, what have you, and never make a profit? But they finally do in 95. So that's everybody's charge. Yes, it's to have entertaining stuff, but this is a business. It's also to turn a profit. And Flair had been the top guy through all of it. So it was certainly worth a try. Unbelievably, Norman picks up a win here over Cactus Jack.
Yikes.
I mean, listen, I get it. They go 9 minutes and 33 seconds. Meltzer gave it a 1.5 stars. He says, not a lot of heat except for the big bumps. Norman got a nice crowd reaction when he came out, but they didn't stay into it. And look at this finish here. Cactus tries a sunset flip and Norman just sits on him, gives him the back cave. Goes, you ever do that to Lois? Just back caber like that?
No.
Let's take a listen.
Right now, I'm with Jim Cornette, the Midnight Express, and of course, the last time you met the Rock and Roll Express, you came out victorious. However, tonight things may change.
Oh, lots of things change in life. People change, places change, things change. The Berlin Wall came tumbling down. Preachers and politicians fall off their pedestal. New ones rise up to take their place. And a lot of things change in professional wrestling, especially over the last couple of years. But some things never change. The Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express, still the greatest tag team matchup in the history of professional wrestling. Some things never change. We still hate the Rock and Roll Express's filthy, stinking guts. And some things never change today. Today, right here at WrestleWar, we're going to do everything we can to beat them, to hurt them, and to put them out of wrestling. Because the Midnight have faced the Rock and Roll more times than they've done Hello Dolly on Broadway, but we never get enough of beating those punks up. Some things never change. We're still the greatest tag team combination in the history of professional wrestling. Always have been and always will be, regardless of who says different. Stan, what day is this?
The day the music died.
Rock and roll.
Let's go back to the ring, please.
That's a little cheesy line, but really a fun line, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You know what? You know what's odd about this show? And I noticed this out of Missy's interview with Norman, and I just noticed it again.
What?
They fade to black and then come back up.
They don't normally do that. They did that for the WWE networks. They could insert commercials.
Okay. All right. So that normally was not on there.
No.
Got it. All right. Well, there you go. I'm thinking, man, that's kind of weird, man. So, okay.
But what we've got now, you want to talk about something that you wouldn't imagine happens here in 1990. It's the Rock and Roll Express versus the Midnight Express, just like it's 1986, except now it's with Stan Lane. And it's probably no surprise, it's the best match on the card. It gets 4.5 stars.
Do you see Hitchcock's sign there?
I didn't. Did it say we've heard enough?
Yeah, H-E-R-D.
It's the most famous sign that Hitch ever took to a show.
Yeah. Yeah, we have heard enough. Wow.
Look at the presentation, though. Besides the silly ramp, I like the lights and the stage and the smoke. That looks cool.
That does look cool. I just, I'm really surprised about that cheesy ramp.
It's a U-Haul ramp.
Yeah, U-Haul ramp. I mean, I'm surprised about that. So this match going to get what again?
4.5 stars. They're going to get 22 minutes and 47 seconds here. Rock and Rolls, by the way, have yet to be offered full contracts here. Let's take a look. Oh, I forgot. They've got the music they're having to dub over, so we won't really be able to hear him.
Okay.
Still, we've got Sweet Stan Lane and Beautiful Bobby taking on the Rock and Roll Express, who the Rock and Roll Express have just announced they're doing their farewell tour this year. So one more year of matches as a tag team, then they'll continue to make appearances together for autographs and meet and greets and things like that. But after that, old Ricky's going to be trying to focus on his son. Let's take a listen to Stan.
Your friend and mine, Mr. Jim Cornette.
I didn't even know he liked girls. I know he was a mixed doubles tennis champion in the prep school, but I thought his mixed doubles, I thought his partner was a man. I don't know.
Who knows, huh?
Wow.
All I know is about Jim Cornette is he is about the most overbearing, obnoxious individual that I've ever seen in my entire life. I can't stand him.
It's Terry Funk trying to be a babyface on commentary here.
Yeah. Should be good, man. This can't get enough of Rock and Roll Midnight Express. How long has Stan been with the Midnight Express at this time, basically?
Ever since Dennis left, so about 3 years, I guess.
Okay.
He left in March of '87.
Yeah, so we're 3 years.
Yeah.
Almost 3 years to the day. It's to the time. Okay. Very cool.
And apparently Stan back then didn't turn down anything but the covers.
Well, Stan was a very handsome young man. And by the way, the last time I saw him was at the NWA Fan Fest that I went to in 2016, and he was still very handsome back then.
He handsome is as handsome does. He looks a lot like a miniature Lex Luger in the face to me.
Yeah, and with the hair and everything.
Yeah,
I get that.
By the way, this show we're watching here, WrestleWar 90 in the Observer, got a 49% thumbs up, 44% thumbs down, and 6.7% thumbs in the middle. So really split.
Yeah.
Meltzer would say the reaction, while split as to whether or not it was a good show, was actually quite consistent. It depended on whether 2 excellent matches was enough to carry the show. And for me, it was. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give the show a 6, but it was only for Ric Flair and Lex Luger and the Rock and Roll Express versus the Midnight Express. The lack of depth here was obvious. The show had a reported crowd of 9,894 and a gate of slightly more than $100,000 for the Greensboro Coliseum. Meltzer would say it did seem to be about 9,000 in the building based on what he saw on TV, but this is a building that's set up to hold 16,000.
Right.
Now, of course, you got to block off some for television production, but they could have probably put 13,000 in there, but here we are.
Right. Yeah. Greensboro Coliseum is a big arena, as
even bigger now.
Oh yeah. Right. I think they added like 5,000 seats since then. I think it's like 21,000, 22,000 seats that they've added. And, you were talking about the Rock and Roll Express's, retirement or whatever you want to call it, farewell tour. And I think I'd mentioned before that I had a chance to be the ring announcer for their match against FTR in Spartanburg, and I was unable to do that, which I regret. But just phenomenal kids, really great kids that I always had a lot of time for, and legendary performers. in and out of the ring.
Now, it wasn't too long after this, you put in your notice, right?
Yeah.
I think it was like maybe mid-March. So just
Yeah,
a few weeks after this, you would have said, hey, I'm out of here.
Yeah. That's why this was a very difficult time for me, because I look at the Cornette.
I might go down there myself. I'm going to take this coat off. I want to get in the ring and get
Look at the fans.
They're in Nick Patrick versus Jim Cornette. Of course, Jim was doing his Hully Gully impersonation of J.J. Dillon with a little help from Stan Lane. Man, I don't care what you say. Jim Cornette knew how to get a crowd reaction. He knew how to get heat from this crowd. Really a masterful performer.
Oh, man. So many levels, Jim Cornette. I mean, if you think about great managers in wrestling, to me, he and Heenan are top two.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And great promos. Cornette is probably, I think Cornette did better promos than Heenan did, although Heenan did great promos. Yeah, just, I mean, fans were into his stuff, but he knew how to, as you said, get a crowd going. Look at this stuff, man. Bobby is so fucking good. He's so good, man. He took that bump and just smoothly just tumbled out of the ring. I love this. This is so good.
The good old days, man.
Man, just Stan's mad at Bobby. Bobby saying, and Jim's trying to play peacemaker. God, it's so well done. So well done. And
By the way, the first match, Buzz Sawyer and Kevin Sullivan against the Dynamic Dudes, Wade gave it a D+. The second match with Norman and Cactus Jack, Wade gave it a C+. And this match, Wade gave an A-.
Oh, okay.
And then our main event with Flair and Lex, he also gave an A-. So it looks like Wade and Dave kind of agree on this one, the way it looks.
Tony, a couple of years back, maybe a year back, had me do an interview with Wade, and I guess it showed up in I don't know if it was on his podcast or on his newsletter. And I got a lot of respect for Wade. I really do. He's a good guy.
Oh man, he's done so much for wrestling over the years.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Wade Keller's good. I have a lot of time for him, and always, if Tony wants me to, we'll always speak to him.
I want to mention Wade would write, Ric Flair resigned as booker of the NWA the Thursday before WrestleWar. Flair, head of the booking committee for 7 months, received criticism and praise over the past 7 months. Many within the NWA expressed frustration in trying to deal with Flair. His impatience and short fuse was blamed on the pressure of having to keep everyone happy within the promotion, stay creative and fresh, and then wrestle the best match of the night every night. The tremendous pressure on Flair caused him to fall from the ladder of popularity with fellow wrestlers and personnel. To Flair's credit, television ratings on cable reached near record levels of viewers each week. Never in history have more people been watching NWA cable shows, and that has been a great achievement. Flair has booked successful pay-per-view shows and many intriguing angles. Most insiders agree the time has come for the pressure to be taken off of Flair and for a restructuring of the promotion. The house shows were not drawing, and there were too many ego clashes and internal bickering to not make some changes. The new booking committee is headed by WCW Senior Vice President Jim Hurd. Others on the committee include Jim Barnett, Terry Funk, Jim Cornette, Kevin Sullivan, and Jim Ross. Ross will probably actually be the leader of the committee, as before he resigned from the committee during Flair's reign as head booker, he was reported to be the one who was always trying to soothe internal arguments. Whether arguments and bickering is completely avoidable with a committee system is doubtful, but the absence of Eddie Gilbert from the committee is confusing, as he's known to be one of the most incredible wrestling minds in the business. Paul Dangerously, who has worked extensively with Eddie Gilbert in the past, told the Torch, quote, Eddie Gilbert is the most brilliant mind I've ever met in professional wrestling. He's 28 years old, yet he's absorbed the knowledge of every veteran he's come across and is able to channel their experience, knowledge, and ideas into new line thinking. The current committee has a tremendous and diverse list of qualifications, but the addition of Gilbert could be an important piece of the puzzle of success. Speaking of Herd, the head of the NWA booking committee was the laughing stock of the media this past week.
Oh,
Across a newswire service came a report that Jim Herd was trying to get the rights to use the names of characters in all the old movies that Turner now owns. One character mentioned in particular was Long John Silver, who, according to Herd, would be a one-legged wrestler. This was the humorous end note to newscasts across the country from Las Vegas to Minneapolis. Yes, it is pretty scary that ideas like that exist, and we thought the Ding Dongs was stupid. So, to be clear, one-legged wrestlers would exist about 10 years after this, or 15 years after this. Right. Zach Gowen became a thing, and he became a big character in WWE. So it's a shame that he wasn't available here for Mr. Herd. I'm sure he was, 8 years old. But man, it's not the worst idea, a one-legged wrestler.
No, the worst idea was a hunchback wrestler. Yes. And that was, I brought this up many times that he hit me with that idea. Long John Silver would have a peg leg and he would unscrew the peg leg when the referee wasn't looking and hit the guy over it and screw it back on. By the time the referee would turn around, I'm thinking, hope he can screw off fast.
Well, I mean, if they needed a fast screwer, they could have asked you, right?
No. And then of course the hunchback was, that's the key. You can't really pin him. So I'm thinking, you sign me up. Fuck yeah. Why not? Sign me the fuck up. So yeah, there we go. I was thinking of something in this story about Long John Silver. Just took me right out of it. Oh,
it's a great line, is it not? What a great story.
Oh God. Yeah. Turner had something they didn't know what to do with. They really did. Oh yeah. I know what I wanted to ask you. So Flair leaves the booking committee.
Yep.
But he came back shortly because he came back shortly in 1990. He had to, because he was back on the booking committee when I was on it for a short period of time.
Yeah. He played hokey pokey, man.
Yeah. Cause I remember we would be talking and he would get up and walk out of the room, just fucking walk out of the fucking room. And then he would be talking about something. He said, listen, I need to talk to you outside, be it Jim Barnett or Kevin Sullivan. They walk outside the room and talk about it. And I'm thinking, I called it a kayfabe sidebar. I said, what the fuck are we doing? And I mean, look, I know you talked about Flair's hot temper and getting guys pissed off. The fact is that Ric Flair probably could have used Ritalin throughout his life to stay focused on one thing. And
you think? Here's the thing, if Ric Flair was born today, his life would have been a lot different than it was.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Of course.
Hey, 1 month after this, we just talked about Flair quitting on February 22nd. Cornette quits a month later, March 27th. There's a TV taping in Canton, Ohio. And prior to the taping, Cornette quit the booking committee out of frustration that Jim Herd had vetoed his plan to quote unquote sell Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane's contract to Woman in order to make them horsemen. Cornette's idea was intended to keep the three employed with the company after they received their termination notices. And the booking committee had previously approved the idea, but here they turned it down. Herd nixed it here. But the idea was at some point in this month, here in February, all three guys, Bobby Eaton, Stan Lane, and Jim Cornette, according to the newsletters, were making $2,000 a week. And the company had decided that as an act, the Midnight Express was not worth $6,000 a week, which, listen, individually, I think you could say any of those guys are worth that, but collectively, maybe I understand if we're hemorrhaging cash, are we going to get $6,000 worth of return at some of our paltry houses and whatnot out of one match? I get that in theory. But Lord, these days, when you think about current numbers, that's such a bargain. Either way, though, Cornette is on the booking committee, so he's trying to be creative. Hey, man, is there a way I can make sure that I still keep a gig here because I'm on the booking committee, so maybe they'll keep me around and let me manage some other folks. But if they're tired of this presentation, how can we get some steam on them? And man, can you imagine? Think about that. Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, and Stan Lane, buddy, that's some fucking horsemen right there.
You damn right it's some horsemen.
I love everything about that. And of course it never happened. And when Hurd vetoed it, Cornette said, well, I quit. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm off the committee, which I get, By the way, I want to mention coming up next, we've got the Road Warriors taking on Mean Mark Callous and what was supposed to be Dangerous Dan Spivey. And of course, Paul Ellering is with the Road Warriors. We saw Teddy Long earlier talking about how he's got a man who's going to stand in for tonight only. And he's going to be the masked skyscraper. Do you remember who the masked skyscraper was?
I do not.
Mike Enos.
Wow.
He was probably most famous for being in the ring when Scott Hall came down the stands on Nitro.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, Mike Enos.
Wow. Mike Enos.
If your name rhymes with penis, how much shit did you put up with in school?
A lot, I would think.
I would think so too.
Yeah, I would think so. This is some troubling times. I think even though the great idea of Cornette and the Midnight Express joining the Horsemen would have been a great idea, and I'm sure that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. Boy, Jim could throw a working punch too. Listen, Jim Herd and Jim Cornette being on the same committee would never work. Would never work. And I'm sure there were other things that led up to that. That was just like, the final straw, so to speak. Because just the way Herd ran things. It was, I may have said this before. When I came back and they stuck me on that booking committee because I was in charge of syndication, it was the absolute worst time of, even worse than when WCW went down. Just having to sit in those booking committees.
Yeah.
And listen to Herd and listen to Jim Barnett. Jody was in those committees too. And no one really talks about that, but Jody and Kevin Sullivan, when I came back, were in charge of booking the house shows. And they would come up with the house shows, and then the whole booking committee would pass it around and say, yeah, that looks good. We never did say no, but it just, you just did not want to come to work because you spent all day in that fucking room, and you spent all day in that room basically not getting anything done because it became not only the booking committee, it became the executive committee. It ran the company, right? And it's just so many things that one committee can do on a company that big. And it was terrible time. And, to be honest, and even though it didn't work with Kip Fry, when Kip Fry came aboard, which would have been 92, I guess, that was a very, very big sigh of relief that happened. So tough times, man. Booking committee nightmares. Woo. Woo.
But we're talking over a really good match here. Go out of your way to see it. This is probably their last big time match on the big stage.
Yeah, I would think so.
And man, I know it's not Dennis, but Stan and Bobby versus the Rock and Roll Express, just as good for me. This is the version I actually grew up on, until you and I started really watching all of the old Midnight Express stuff through 1986. By and large, the Midnight Express I grew up with was the Stan Lane version.
Yeah, right. I get that. And you had to be a kid that grew up in the mid 80s to remember the Midnight Express with Dennis, which obviously you were too young for that. So I understand that.
Meltzer would say of this injury to Sting, Judging from the interviews that aired on TV this weekend, wrestling rule number one is the babyface never guarantees a victory unless it's going to happen. Sting was going to win the world title from Flair on this show. The injury puts the NWA into a major panic with a pay-per-view show coming and now no main event. Plus, the inner turmoil within the company between the wrestlers, the bookers, and management has grown to the point where the management is basically pointing the finger at Flair for every problem, some of which he may even deserve the blame for, and they want the belt off of him in the worst way. A meeting was scheduled for Monday morning to determine where the company was headed, since everything was being built around Sting as a babyface. And with the triple turn on Tuesday, the company's leading babyface as of this writing is Norman the Lunatic. Pay-per-view card has been changed to Flair versus Lex Luger as the top match. Whether or not Luger will be officially turned will be determined at this week's meeting. Even if he isn't officially turned, by what's happened Tuesday, Luger will be the babyface for the match. Another wrestling rule of thumb is when you have a major substitution, particularly on the big card, that you somehow find a way to put the babyface's hand up in the main event.
Right.
Anyway, Luger's match with Steve Williams was dumped, and it's just as well since Williams' contract expired this weekend. And when he left Thursday for Japan, he let it known he wouldn't be coming back to the NWA. So I guess it all worked out for Lex, man. You go from working with Steve Williams to, well, now you're with Flair in the main event.
I know Flair was a heel here, but in Greensboro, North Carolina, was he a heel?
Well, that's the thing, Aaron says on his podcast that Flair was a half-ass babyface in every town he went to.
Right. And he was such a fixture in Greensboro. I mean, this was the venue where he won the world title, 83. He was such a fixture in Greensboro that I have a feeling a lot of people cheered for him when he walked out. See if maybe we can track some of that. They'll probably, I don't know if we can or not, but I guess Flair was a heel, Horsemen were heels, and Luger was a babyface. And I just on the surface, I can see Greensboro Coliseum not buying Lex Luger at all as the savior heel, a babyface against Ric Flair. I don't know.
I want to tell you about this too. There's another interesting story that nobody ever talks about from that clash.
Okay.
Talking about the clash, the Texas shootout where Sting got injured and everything changed.
Climbing the cage and dropping down. Yep. I remember that.
That's not the only news. Had that gone off without a hitch, had Sting been healthy, everyone would be talking about this story.
Well,
Tully Blanchard was in the dressing room at the show waiting to go on. He's supposed to return, but a contract dispute took place. He had yet to sign, and even though he's there, dressed and ready to go, he winds up never coming out and never coming back. The way the story was explained to me is that when the two sides first met the previous Wednesday, after Ric Flair had finally convinced management to allow him to bring Blanchard in for the clash, the two sides were far apart on money to the point that it was figured no deal would be reached. TBS reportedly offered $156,000 per year, which truthfully is a fair figure for a wrestler of Blanchard's level and slightly more than he was making in the WWF. Blanchard reportedly asked for between $250 and $300, which is what he was originally promised to jump from the WWF. However, by the end of the week, the two sides were back in negotiations. While no contract was signed by press time last week, at least according to the version I received, the sides had come to an agreement of $156,000, with Blanchard agreeing to work 176 dates. The contract was to be brought to Corpus Christi. He'd sign it before the show and be involved in the angle later that night. Apparently, the contract brought to him was for $156,000, but for 300 dates. It's probably the same deal Arn Anderson is under. Blanchard balked, feeling he had agreed to work 176 dates, and the NWA side is that this was the deal, and it was only on the table until 8 p.m. tonight. When the show started, the chances of the deal would be dead. So there you go.
It sounds like a little bit of swerving from the NWA or Turner Broadcasting to me.
Here's the thing. They were never going to work 300 shows.
Right.
They did not run 300 shows in 1990. They just didn't. Now, I know they may have you contractually obligated to it, but I mean, think about the heyday even of WCW during the Monday Night Wars. You would have guys under contract for way more dates than they actually used.
Right.
I also want to mention the other story out of this same Clash of the Champions, that again, if Sting's not injured, everybody would be talking about it. But because of the injury, it feels like nobody talked about it. The great Muta quit. The NWA wanted him back. He agreed to meet with him on Monday, but he's like, nope, enough of this. Now, of course, we know he does ultimately figure something out, and Muta's going to make appearances off and on for the NWA, but golly, I see why Flair's like, fuck, man, I can't do too much more of this.
Yeah.
You know, we think we got Tully back. We got Muta built up, and it's just a mess.
Well,
look at there. Look at there. Look at that pop.
I got that 3 count in there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the winners of the match. Gentlemen, there you see it right there, picking him back up, and there you see him right in behind there, driving him off. You see him cradling that right leg, holding him tight, getting that 3 count.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go now to Gordon Sullivan, who's with the Road Warriors.
Thank you, gentlemen. The Road Warriors and Paul Ellering are with me right now. And in just a moment, you're going to be stepping into the ring in the Chicago street fight. And Teddy Long says that Danny Spivey's injured.
That's right, Gordon Sullivan. But first of all, everybody's wondering, the Warriors, we got our brothers in paint armband on to help us as if we need any help to kick the Skyscrapers' butt. Tell them, Hawk. Needless to say, we went back to Chicago, slept in alleys, streets, near the gutter, and what do? We put 16 guys in the hospital just getting psyched up for this thing. Paul, he just got back from Hong Kong, and you know something? You got a surprise for us? None for you. Same old story. We win, you lose. Tell him, Paul. You know something? We've gotten where we are today because we never underestimate our opponents. Teddy Long, you could have Danny Spivey come out from anywhere. I realize that, and not for a minute am I going to forget it. We're ready for you, and stick your nose in there.
Now let's go back to the ring, please.
What do you think of Gordon Sullivan here?
Yeah, Gordon was fine. He led some old school authenticity to it. So he was fine. I always rather had Gordon on the stick than, not the stick, but behind the headset. Then he.
It's time for the street fight, Daddy. And here comes what will be later this year, The Undertaker.
Amazing, huh?
Isn't that crazy to think about? And this is a lesson for wrestlers and wrestling fans. I mean, just a few months after this is February, we see the debut at the Survivor Series. So 9 months later, this fellow is one of the biggest gimmicks, and it's going to start one of the biggest runs. I mean, to this day, he's almost revered as like the godfather of wrestling.
Yeah.
And here he is 9 months ahead of that. Talk about some humble beginnings. Let's take a listen to Teddy Long, old peanut head. Nope, never mind.
Nope.
Going right to the Road Warriors, who are coming out without the spikes. I know it's a street fight.
Right.
Me, man, this is a mistake. If the Road Warriors are coming out, put the fucking shoulder pads on.
I felt the same way when I saw that interview. That what's wrong with then I went, oh, they don't have the spikes on in the interview. They need the spikes. Yeah, I agree with that. And this thing, look, a couple of things to unpack here.
The fire on either side is badass. The lining of the aisle with fire right there is
that's
killer.
pretty cool.
But the Road Warriors riding bitch on a motorcycle, that ain't cool.
No, that's not cool at all.
Put your fucking shoulder pads on and drive the damn motorcycle. Don't hop on the back. What the hell?
So Muta quits. Jim Cornette quits the booking committee. Flair is unhappy. They swerve Tully Blanchard, depending on who you believe.
I get why everybody's frustrated.
Yes, you can tell why people were angry. It was just not a good place, and it was again, it's running by management by chaos, and for the life of me, and I hate to say this, but how they hired Hurd in the first place, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. he would have been great being the head of sales for us, wouldn't he?
Oh my gosh. I was thinking the same thing. Like,
yeah,
just put him in charge of that. Don't put him
Right.
in charge of everything, just in
No.
charge of that. And boy,
yeah,
you guys could have been in great shape.
yeah, oh yeah. Well, of course, it all depends on who they would put in his place, but they tried many, many things.
I would,
You know,
let me just freestyle. Jim Ross.
Yeah, why not?
Let Jim Ross run the doggone thing.
Absolutely.
He's now going to sit in the big seat. Jim Herd is going to run all of the sales. I would have let Jim Herd run my syndicated TV. I would have let him run my national television sales. Like,
yeah,
let's let Jim Herd be in charge of revenue.
Yeah.
These days, there's a position that's referred to these days that really nobody talked about back then. And I don't think it even had an official title. I would make Jim Herd my chief revenue officer.
Uh-huh.
Let him go out here and sell Coors and Mars and Ruse and let him worry about licensing the figures and all that jazz.
Right.
And he's going to help sort of spearhead that, and it'll all be under his tutelage and his watch. But Jim Ross, let him handle the talent, the contracts, the creative committee.
Right. Yeah. Good plan.
What could have been, man. Because you got to, I mean, look at this roster. What we're seeing right now is Doom come out to the ring. Butch Reed and Ron Simmons are coming to the ring to watch the fucking Undertaker and the Road Warriors. That's a big time crew, dude.
Yes. Yes. I'm watching the Undertaker here wrestle. I just can't get over it. By the way,
go ahead.
I talked to Paul White. Paul White credits the Undertaker with a lot of his career. He said he was such a leader of guys. And when he talked, people would listen. And we knew, I mean, listen, when I first came back and he was still with us, and Paul Lee Dangerously this was a very short period of time, of course. Paul Lee Dangerously was like his manager. We talked about it, and there was no question that Mark Callous was going to be a big star. And it just took the right gimmick. It's just one of those things, right?
Yeah.
Right person, right gimmick, right time. Timing. Wow. It's amazing it seemed like this, isn't it? If you think about it. Mike Enos in a mask.
What do you think of the presentation here of the other referee? I mean, you and I have mistaked him or mistook him, whatever the word is.
Yeah.
For Nick Patrick a few times. I think it's Mike Atkins. Does that ring a bell?
That sounds right. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, everybody back then had a similar hairstyle mustache combo. Like my dad was rocking that same look, and so were you.
Right. Yeah.
Or I guess Vince made you get rid of the mustache.
Yes, he did. It was
a good call because you were a handsome devil, and he covered it up with your facial hair.
Mm. Well, I like facial hair.
We talked about you the other day in my group chat.
Oh, brother.
Old Pondwater Dave posted a picture of you, the old WCW promo when you were wearing the double-breasted jacket. I'm sure you remember that one.
Right.
And Pondwater Dave said, you know, if this fella ever figured out how to dress, he'd have just slayed Cooter left and right.
No, he wouldn't have.
Well, I'm just saying, I think
that was, if you want to use the term slaying Cooter, that was never big with me.
Oh, I know that. I know. Yeah. I'm not saying it is. He was trying to compliment you as being a good looking fellow.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, thank you, Pondwater Dave.
It's weird that you don't know how to take compliments. I mean, he was saying you're a damn good looking man, and you're like, no, that's not my thing.
Okay. So who's on this group chat?
Okay. Let me click over and take a look.
Okay.
I'll click the button and read it off.
All right. I'd be interested to see who's on this group chat.
Okay. So Chris McDonald, who does all of our videos, if you've seen any video production from ad-free shows and it looked awesome, odds are pretty good Chris did it.
Sure.
Mark Nielsen, maybe the most underground belt collector of all time. I think Mark probably has something like 400 belts.
Okay.
Jeff Jewett, who easily has, he's MrDoodooTrucking.com. And Jeff easily has the best, oh my gosh, doomsday device for Mike Enos. And I hope he didn't hurt his penis, but that's it. Hawks got him. Jeff Jewett has the best collection of belts and displays around. Cassio Kid, or as he's known these days, Thick Flair. Dave Silva, nothing happening. Dave Silva, who we're all familiar with.
Nothing happened. Yeah.
Corey Ryan Forrester, who you debate is whether or not he's actually a comedian, but 219,000 people agree he is.
219,000.
Our gimmick attorney, Mr. Mike Dawkins. He's in the group chat. Friend of the show, Shuli Shalom, formerly of the Howard Stern Show. He's in there. Who could forget Dave Hancock? I know we wish we could.
Yeah. I forgot him. Yeah. I'd forgotten him.
But you know, he handled social for StarCast and a lot of our accounts and stuff, and now he's actually helping me with some customer service. So if you're going to do a mortgage with SaveAConrad.com, decent chance you'll wind up talking to Dave. Jay-Z Graham, formerly known as Jay-Z Flair, always known as the Bojangles champion, the Chicken Champ. He's in the group chat. Of course, the now infamous Pond Water Dave is in there.
Yeah.
Eric Rottencrotch, as we like to call him, he's there.
Yep.
And who could forget Scott, the man who makes all of our hotel dreams happen and possible. He's going to be working overtime this year for us on StarCast, and he doesn't even know it.
Wow. How about that? Little peek that's kind of threw that one out there, but StarCast, didn't you?
So the Doom, man, hooking it up in a big way here with the Road Warriors. They came out all dressed to the nines. I love that Ron Simmons was wearing like a tuxedo, but he also had some crazy cowboy boots on.
Right.
And made sure that he tucked his pants into the cowboy boots. And now, man, Road Warrior Animal having nothing to do with that, just ripping it right off. Unfortunately, everybody in the ring, all four of these competitors are now in way different places in their life. Road Warrior Hawk, Road Warrior Animal, and Butch Reed are now main eventing up in the sky.
Yes, they are.
But Ron Simmons is the last one left. And when reached for comment, he had this to say. Damn.
Ron's. Oh God, Ron's a fucking man. I saw him in Albany, New York recently. He and JBL were there together. And
how fun is JBL in real life?
Wow, he's pretty cool, isn't he?
I mean, I know that you know a lot of people who listen to this have never had the good fortune of meeting him.
Yeah.
But and they, as a result, just believe what they've read online, and I get it. But I'm just saying, you meet that guy, and you're like, how can you not like that guy?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
By the way, I want to mention we saw Buzz Sawyer earlier, and we were kind of making fun of his woo 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 and all this shit he was doing during the match.
Right.
One of those dives he did on Johnny Ace broke his fucking wrist.
Whoa.
Both Arn Anderson and Ricky Morton come out of this show pretty banged up as well. So pretty rough little deal there when some of your best guys take a licking and try to keep on ticking.
Yeah, just it's happened throughout time, Conrad, as you know. And what was different about this time, and what is different about what goes on today is well, let's listen to JR.
Sure, here we go.
And doing quite volatile. Now, coming up, we are at the halfway point of this program. The balance of this card will be for a championship matchup. Every match, a championship match from here on out. I'm going to ask Terry Funk to come back in here. Terry, I want to tell you, every match from here on out for a championship, I'm sure we have not heard the last of Doom and the Road Warriors. Doom did not get enough of this.
I don't think they did either. You talk about a Donnybrook. You talk about a fight. You talk about a great night of wrestling. We're having it right here at Greensboro, and this is NWA Wrestling, the best in the world. There's no better. Don't forget it.
Terry, settle down, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, he is fired up, and so am I. But right now, let's take another look at what just happened there just a few moments ago, Terry. They have the replay, I understand, ready for us. Ladies and gentlemen, the Road Warriors won the street fight, but then here's what happened.
Okay, we kind of get it. We're stalling. We're killing time.
Right. Yeah.
What it is.
No, what I was saying is that injuries injuries years ago in the 80s and 70s were you worked through injuries because you had to.
Didn't have a
But
choice.
now, but now as we move into the modern era, the more modern era, I guess I should say, it's you can take some time off to nurse your injuries, and even to the point to where now it's been well documented. We've talked about it here on the podcast. Here in AEW, we have a doctor and we have a physical therapist who train or who are with us everywhere we go. There's a doctor in AEW and there's 3 therapists and sometimes more. And when a wrestler walks back through the curtain, one of the therapists is there with a bottle of electrolytes, hands it to them, standing right there waiting on them, and a towel, and seeing how they are, ask them how they're doing. And if they're hurting, they take them right back to the training room. Stuff like that never happened, man. And and then you wonder, why didn't it? I mean, these are your stars. These are the people that make your money, right?
Yeah.
Why shouldn't you protect your investments? Why did you there's a lot of things that old time wrestler, and of course you can go back and even talk about things were done wrong in the NFL and Major League Baseball. Society has evolved in that way, but why didn't you protect them? Why didn't you make sure they were healthy? Why didn't you help them? It just seemed like the arrogance of the old time promoter is, well, you're going to have to work even if you hurt, because guess what? If you hurt and you can't work, we'll find somebody else.
Hey, let me ask you about Hulk Hogan vitamins.
Okay. I didn't
reported in the newsletter. They were working on them here and they're talking about distribution deals. I remember the commercials and all that, but do you remember getting some as like samples or whatever? Did they?
No, not at all.
I mean, it is interesting that it took Vince this long after all those years of promos where he said, say your prayers, take your vitamins, blah, blah, blah.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting. What I remember more than anything else is Hulk Hogan's Pastamania at the Mall of America. That's what I remember, because I ate there a couple times. Mm-hmm. You choose, you rule. That's what it was. At Hulk Hogan's Pastamania, you rule. Not Hulk rules, you rule. You choose the pasta. You choose the sauce. You choose the protein. And it didn't last long.
What do you think of this good-looking babyface tag team duo doing the old school Southern wrestling thing, going around and high-fiving every fan in the front row, Brian Pillman and Tom Zink?
Yeah, and Brian taking some extra time doing it. They were good-looking young men, buddy. Look at the hourglass shape that Pillman had. Man, this was an era of mullets, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, there's a mullet factory around here.
You're not kidding.
Oh, wow. Take a look. Let's listen.
There's a window. Who's out in the ring there? My goodness. I heard Brian Pillman say, hi, Mom, on the way out. I don't think.
Oh, my goodness.
That's an interesting dress she's got. I don't know if she's trying to get in it or get out of it.
The girl in the red.
That's what it's like.
Yeah.
Barry Windham's old girlfriend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You got your nerve.
She danced at the Gold Club.
Okay.
Yep.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that at all. Can't remember her name, but I know exactly who she was. And turn around, because here we go. Boom.
And turn around, because here we go. Boom. By the way, I want to mention the match we just watched here.
Yeah.
With the Road Warriors. Meltzer would write. The post-match brawl was to set up Road Warriors versus Reed and Simmons for the next month, but nobody's going to care. Danny Spivey was being announced as being injured, but the NWA offices did hear from his doctor that he's got a bad neck, and it's not a lie. So it's a question as to whether or not he'll be allowed back, since he never let anyone know about all the dates he missed. It's actually very unlikely that he will be, though. But it doesn't matter, because Callous is leaving for Japan now. He's going to return as a singles wrestler. He might be managed by Jim Cornette. Of course, we know it would wind up being Paulie Dangerously.
Right.
But as of now, the Skyscrapers are finished. Norton or Nitron, rather, was asked to team with Callous, but the sides couldn't agree to money and Enos was a last minute replacement, half a star or star and a half rather. This match here, Meltzer would say, they go, by the way, 24 minutes and 30 seconds.
Holy shit.
Which Meltzer says is about 25 minutes too long for a Freebirds match. Just kind of fun. Pillman and Zink tried, but just it looked bad. The match was bad. Garvin was just awful. And the NWA has just a few weeks to decide whether or not to allow his contract to extend for another year. And if there was anything on the borderline, he did a great job in hurting his own case.
Wow.
The finish was booked well and looked pretty sloppy in execution. Pillman pinned Garvin with a flying body press during a 4-way, half a star. So, boy, he is not a fan.
No, man.
Of Mr. Garvin.
Not at all. And how about this guy here? When's the last time you talked with him?
2 days ago.
Wow.
Talking about Super Bowl.
Wow. Hey, you like them Bengals?
He and I will make friendly bets.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, we'll bet 100 or 500 this game or that game. It always comes out where we're about even, because if I get up, he'll say double or nothing, punk, or something like that.
Yeah, right.
One year when I won and we didn't see each other for several months, I just had a wild hair and tagged him on Twitter. And it was like, hey, quit dodging me and give me the money you owe me or something. And it was clearly a joke. And he thought I was serious. So he texted me. He's like, what's your fucking address? I'm overnighting a check. I was kidding around. I don't actually care to have any of your money. It was, haha. But yeah, so he did pay me when he saw me.
So who you got in the Super Bowl?
You know, I mean, I think the Rams are going to win, but I sure am pulling for the Bengals.
Right.
I mean, I want Joe Burrow to be a hot commodity, and this would cement that legacy. So that'd be cool. But I know you're pulling for the Rams because you want Stafford to win.
That's right. But I do want to say this, and I haven't watched hardly any NFL in the last couple of years. I'm a former Redskins fan that hates the Commanders and is now a Jags fan.
Of course.
But I did watch the last part of the AFC Championship game because I was going to talk to somebody on the phone, and that person said, wait till the game is over and we'll talk. And so I said, well, let me turn the game on. And here's what I think, just in the short period of time that I've watched the NFL this year and watched that game. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Joe Burrow's a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes.
Wow.
Yeah, he is.
I don't know what to say.
He is. I don't care what anybody, I know he is. That guy is a hell of a quarterback. Only his second year, he's going to the Super Bowl. Gee whiz. So that's my take on that. And I've got a lot of Kansas City fans in our family here that will probably spit on the ground when they say my name now. But that's my opinion.
You know, Abyss from TNA, we've seen some of his stuff before, I think. Here on
right. Mm-hmm.
Well, the real life Chris Parks, he thinks, he foolishly said in my presence not too long ago, Joe Burrow is the next Joe Montana. And I just thought that was just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, Joe Montana is the GOAT.
Yeah.
Have you seen his special on Peacock?
No.
They have a 6-part series on Joe Montana. 2 thumbs up. Can't recommend it enough. Go out of your way to see it.
It's a documentary about his career?
Yes.
Okay.
From high school through the end of his career, the whole controversy with Steve Young, the Kansas City Chief run. And then it's been just a few minutes showing, you know, him with his family now. And it's fantastic.
I will check it out for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tony, unfortunately, we got a long time in this match and we acknowledge it's kind of a stinker. So this is the part of the show where we just bullshit.
All right. I thought we've been doing a lot of that already. So let's go. So is this the part of we bullshit, or you just bring up a bunch of fucking lies and I knock them down? Well,
I thought instead of me doing that this week, you would.
Okay.
So, normally all the heavy lifting for the bullshitting part of the program is on me.
Yeah.
But I'm going to defer to you today.
All right.
What would you like to talk about today, Tony? Because it's sure as shit not this Freebird match.
Okay. Well, I would like to talk about how things were in St. Louis for your crew.
Oh, it was great. Sold out, hanging from the rafters.
Right.
Had a great response.
Yeah.
Ric Flair show was sold out, packed. And then, of course, myself and Jeff Jarrett and Eric Bischoff.
Yeah.
We had a fantastic time. Nick Aldis stopped by as a special guest.
Yeah.
It was fun, man. It's our first time really getting out there since the pandemic, and it was a lot of fun. And I'm happy to announce that we've got WrestleMania plans now. Supershowlive.com is where you can pick up your tickets. Supershowlive.com. It's going to be on Friday, and it's going to be Jeff Jarrett, Eric Bischoff, and myself. And the question is, who's the third man? Because that's not all that's coming.
All right.
Big surprises there. We're going to do like a happy hour. So you'll be able to go to WrestleCon, and as soon as WrestleCon finishes, just come hang out with us, do the happy hour. Then the show will start at 7. It's going to be on Fight, Triller, Enthusiast. So if you can't make it down and you're just going to be watching all the WrestleMania activities from home, add us to your list as well. Get all the information over at supershowlive.com. And Tony, I don't know that it's out there and it's official, but the rumor is we might be trying to get you to make an appearance at WrestleCon. It could be a fun week there in Dallas. What say you?
Well, I don't know what to say about that.
Maybe not. Maybe we're working on it. Maybe we're not.
Yeah, maybe not.
Oh, come on, Tony. We'd have fun. It'd be like the old days where you pretended like you liked us.
Yeah, I know. It'd be some more pretending too. So how was Flair during all this in St. Louis? Was he easy to deal with?
For me, yes. Flair's always easy to deal with for me.
Because he's family.
Well, I don't know if that makes it easier.
Yeah.
But I'm like the Flair whisperer.
Yeah.
So I figured out how to communicate with him.
Yeah, well, somebody needs to be when he's around. I'd reached out to Mark Madden. I said, how did it go in St. Louis? He said, I had a great time, chaotic as always, when you talk about Ric Flair. And I said, yeah.
I mean, no other way to do it. He didn't know it. He didn't know any other way to do it.
I know. And when you and I had talked about me coming to St. Louis, I thought, of course I couldn't do it because of Lois wasn't doing well here. And that
was a bullshit excuse, but I'll let you off with it.
No, it was true.
We said you had to take her to the doctor.
I did.
Who goes to the doctor on Saturday?
She went to the doctor. She went to the doctor on Friday.
Yeah, and our show was on Saturday, so it was bullshit. Our plan all along was for you to fly in on Saturday. She's like, I got to take her to the doctor, and I'll let you off the hook. That was your way of saying, nah, I don't want to go, which is fine. I'm totally cool with that. But when you're like, I got to take her to the doctor, I'm like, it's fucking Saturday. No, you don't.
Yeah.
You go to a walk-in clinic. She gets stung by a bee.
Yeah. You don't. She went into a walk-in clinic 2 days ago.
And 2 days ago was a Friday.
You're right. So, yeah, and I didn't want to go either.
Yeah, that's it, and that's fine. You don't have to lie.
No, I didn't lie. I was going to come down on Friday, and not only that, when your wife gets one of these back injections, she's on her back, and it's just not a good time. I've got an old wife. Okay, I got an old wife.
I do too.
Not this old. So anyway, so that was the deal then. But I just
I'd have to make it.
I didn't even know that. What's that?
I didn't say anything.
Okay. I didn't know that Flair was going to be a part of this. I thought it was just you and Bischoff and.
Oh, it is on Saturday. Flair had a show the night before. He wasn't at our show.
All right. And I'm thinking, whew, glad I missed that.
I mean, I saw Mark Madden and Ric Flair in real life for less than a half hour.
Oh, okay.
After the show, when they finished their show, we went back to Rick's hotel to grab a drink, and it turned into a fucking meet and greet. So we went to a bar next door. And literally a half hour before it just became a little too chaotic, and I was like, nope, gotta go out of there.
Right. I get it. Yeah, you've built yourself quite a crew here, fella. You really, really have. You've done quite well with yourself.
I just wish we could have Tony Schiavone every now and again.
Yeah, well,
and they keep telling me we have Schiavone at home, and I'm like, no, I want this Schiavone. Oh, we have Schiavone at home.
I just, I wish I could too. Maybe there'll be a day. Maybe there'll be a day.
Probably not, but maybe. Coming up next after this, though, we got the Steiner Brothers versus the Anderson Brothers. That's right. Ole and Arn are back together. Of course, the match we're watching now is for the U.S. Tag Team titles, but what's next is the World Tag Team titles. Love me some Steiner Brothers. And I think when people think about Ole and Arn as a tag team, they probably think about like 85 and 86.
Right.
They probably don't think about 1990 here, but we're about to see it. And of course, Ole, okay, he's a little older, but boy, this is peak Steiner Brothers. And we're going to get to see them in action. And they too get a lot of time. I want to recap the match times of this show because this is a 3-hour pay-per-view, and Tony, there's only 7 matches. So our first match is 10 minutes and 15 seconds. That was Sullivan and Sawyer against the Dynamic Dudes.
Okay.
The next match is 9.5 minutes, 9 minutes and 33 seconds for Norman the Lunatic and Cactus Manson.
Yep.
The Rock and Rolls versus the Midnight Express with Jim Cornette. They got 19 minutes and 31 seconds. The Chicago Street Fight with the Road Warriors and the Skyscrapers was 4 minutes and 59 seconds. The match we're watching right now is the second longest on the show, 24 minutes and 32 seconds. And then the Steiners and Andersons, they're going to go 16 minutes and 5 seconds. But unbelievably, when Ric Flair comes out, he'll have Woman on his side. And of course, Lex Luger will be accompanied by Sting here as he challenges Flair for the world title. They're going to go 38 minutes and 8 seconds.
Yikes.
What a long main event. 7 matches in a 3-hour show.
Yeah. You know what? That 7 matches was the norm for a good house show. Because, and I saw a lot of good Mid-Atlantic house shows. They would have 7 matches. They would have 4 matches, and then they would have a triple main event. They would have 4 matches. Usually match number 4 was a tag team match. Right before the intermission, they come back in the triple main event. And that's how they did it. And for house shows back then, that was okay because you built up to the main event. But for a TV show, it was the wrong thing to do. And that was, I think that's old school thinking. To have only 7 matches in a 3-hour show or whatever, 245. Whatever it is. So I noticed that on that we've got on this great Conrad Thompson network that I'm very proud to be a part of and very proud to be one of the early members of, that I see Matt Hardy's part of this now. Am I speaking out of turn here?
No, not at all. The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, brand new podcast. Go out of your way to see it. He's having a great time with John Alba, and they're breaking down some really fun stuff. I had a chance to listen to a couple of the episodes, and man, I think they're finding their rhythm. They're going to have a fun time.
Why don't you tell me who else has got a podcast?
Well, there's a lot of folks who have a podcast. Of course, every Monday, it's 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff. Every Tuesday, it's My World with Jeff Jarrett. Every Wednesday, it's What Happened When with Tony Schiavone and DDP Snake Pit with Jake Roberts and Diamond Dallas Page. We've also got shows on Thursday with Grill and JR, of course, Jim Ross, the voice of wrestling. On Friday, who could forget Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard? Saturday, it's all about Arn. Sunday, it's the Kurt Angle Show. And oh yeah, we've also got the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, the Ric Flair Uncensored Woo Nation podcast with Ric Flair and Mark Madden. And the rumor and innuendo is there's a new podcast coming out. And I guess by the time folks are listening to this, it's out.
Okay.
It's the Wives of Wrestling with Kurt Angle's wife and Randy Orton's wife. So we've got Kim and Giovanna and of course John Alba is on that one as well. So sort of a different slant on some of the other wrestling podcasts that are out there, the Wives of Wrestling. Interesting idea.
Yeah, it is. And it's amazing, this empire established by Conrad Thompson, the 3rd most powerful man in all of pro wrestling right now. Amazing.
I don't know about all that.
It wouldn't surprise me if you didn't buy the WWE.
Well, you know, what's funny, I talked to Eric about that the other day, not us buying it, but he said, you know who should buy it and who could get that deal done in 3 phone calls? And I said, who? And he said, The Rock.
Mm. Wow.
I never really even considered that.
I didn't either. I guess most people think that if it's going to be sold, it's going to be to a big corporation like Disney, right? Or
The Rock
Fox.
has tons of cash and access to way more.
Yeah. But does he want that? I mean, he's a very successful. He is America's action hero, right?
Oh, for sure.
Why would he want that? I don't know. I don't know why he would want that. But hey, that I never thought of that. That's pretty good.
I mean, that's kind of smart.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think you have discovered, and I knew this, you have discovered by working with Eric, he has a great mind for business.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, he really, really does. And that's why he was very successful in WCW.
Yeah.
And I think I mentioned this recently. Not so okay. After we had Full Gear, I went to Albany, New York, and Eric and I drove Eric back. Had a rental car, drove Eric back to the airport in New York City. It was about a 3-hour trip, and he and I got to reconnect for 3 hours. So it was a great conversation. Smart guy, man. Just smart business sense. Very confident in what he does. I think that's a lot of why he was so good at WCW was he was so confident about his decisions. You got to be. I was never like that. I was never confident in my decisions, business decisions. So always second guessing myself. And I guess everybody does. But anyway, so going back to the original thought, it's good that I think Rock, God, is it going to be a headline now?
Oh no, I mean,
WHW says,
well, yeah. Let's say it again. Hey, I was talking to Eric Bischoff the other day, and he told me in a loud and clear voice, he has it on good authority that The Rock is going to buy WWE. So let's see what that does.
Let's see what that does.
Just see.
Oh God, these websites, man, that listen to us for news. Oh,
I just hope you remember our edits at 145 and 148.
Yeah, I got them both, buddy. And I know exactly what we were talking about.
A reverse chin lock here is the hold that Michael Hayes is doing to and literally no one outside is paying any attention.
No, not at all. Look at them. They're looking at each other.
Yeah. They're done with this shit.
Yeah.
And it was around this time you started to think, hey man, maybe I need to get back home.
Yeah.
And that was really a function of Lois more so than the experience, right?
Yeah, it was. There's no question. And you know what? Here I am as I'm broadcasting today. If you're watching on video, I'm in the same house that I moved into during that a couple months later. I haven't moved.
That's the house you bought in 1990.
That's right.
So you've owned it 32 years.
32 years. Yeah.
Wow.
So
listen, this is weird to say.
Yeah.
But have you thought about hypothetically, if you talk to any of the kids, like one day when you and Lois go to the great main event in the sky, are one of the kids going to take the Schiavone home?
I don't know.
I think that would be cool, man. I've recently started to get like a soft spot for some of those things. And I even pitched Megan the other day, hey, what if we tried to buy the old houses we grew up in and turned them into Airbnbs and VRBOs?
Right.
So, we don't have a house just sitting there that's not making us any money. We could actually, make sure it at least paid for itself. But it sure would be cool to own the houses you grew up in. And I think it would be cool if one of your kids were like, oh yeah, I want to take over mom and dad's house. That's fun.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think anything that Matt would do, because I don't think Matt is really going to move back to this area. I think it's something Laurie and her husband could do, or maybe Chris could do.
Matt's tired of living in the South.
Well, no, he's been in New Jersey. He's been working for Fox News forever. And his wife's from New Jersey. I can't see him moving to the South, which also reminds me of another thing. I was, Alex Abrahantes got me turned on to the morning show on Apple Plus.
Oh yeah. What do you think of that program?
I like it. I think Jennifer Aniston is a wonderful actress, just wonderful. But Conrad, and I think I've said this before, on different platforms. I am so sick and tired, and you should be too.
Oh wow!
Of of how Hollywood portrays the South. I am. I'm just. It's like we're all backwater redneck, and it's a great. The South. You grew up here. The South is a wonderful place to live.
I like it.
And sure, there are, like for instance, Bradley Jackson, who's one of the characters. She has issues with her family, terrible family, and they're from West Virginia. And even someone said, from the South. And I'm thinking, you know what? They're rednecks in Fresno, California, and they're rednecks everywhere. Why the South? What? And I get just, and I almost gave up on it because of that, but I stuck with it the 2 seasons that are out, and I like it. But stop, please stop, okay? I know there have been bad things happen in the South, and I know that probably, but I'm just tired of it, man.
Where haven't there been bad things happen, Tony? What are you talking about?
Well, you know,
bad things happen in every part of the country.
Exactly. Don't go to the South. It just, God, it makes me so mad.
You ain't got to get hot about it.
Oh, I do have to get hot about it.
But why?
And I don't know. Because I enjoy living here so much. I grew up in Virginia and I lived in North Carolina, and I did go up to Connecticut for a year. And even though it wasn't bad life up there, it wasn't the life for us. And now we're back here, been in Georgia for 32 years. And just, it's such a, you're right. Maybe I need to leave it alone, right? And focus on something else in my life. Like taking that U.S. belt and hitting somebody with it. My God.
Well, there you go.
Maybe I need to, you're right. You're right.
What?
I focus on the wrong things, don't I?
Well, I mean, there's no, oh my gosh, it's over. Thank God.
That's the crossbody. Well, they stood up for that.
Well, they're just glad it's fucking over. I mean, that's the deal. They're just glad it's fucking over.
Okay.
Are you not glad it's over?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thrilled it's over. Look at, there's, my God, there's, what's his name? Tony Gillum. Holy shit. Tony, who became our ring announcer and then got fired by Eric Bischoff.
Why did he get fired?
Only Eric can answer that. I really don't know why. Tony was a pretty cool guy. We all really got along with him. Oh, look at the fans. Here we go. Woo! Woo!
Let's track it.
It is set for one fall. Introducing first the challengers, representing the Horsemen from Minnesota. Total combined weight 500.
How fucking good did Arn look at that TV title? I wish we knew where that one was. God, what a great belt.
That's the black one, right? Yeah, it is the black one.
Well, whether it's black or red, whatever it is, I love it.
Yeah. You don't know where it is, huh?
No, nobody does. And I mean, personally, I blame you.
Yeah, who's the last? Okay, I'll take the blame for that. Who's the last man to have it?
Arn Anderson had the red one.
Okay, who's the last?
In real life.
Okay. And he has no idea where it is?
Nope. And take a listen to this.
And ladies and gentlemen, their opponents, they are the World Tag Team Champions from Detroit, Michigan. Total combined weight 525 pounds. Rick Steiner, Scott Steiner, the Steiner Brothers.
My favorite tag team as a kid by far. They're holding up, or Rick's holding up a sheet of paper that was taped to his jacket that said Sting's Revenge. The outfit that Scott Steiner has on is the one he wore in that poster that I tried to find a few years ago. And I was successful in landing my childhood poster. It's like yellow and it's just got like little paint splatters of black. It's got like this leather black thing down the side. I think this is the most badass version of the Steiners. I know that most fans would probably say, 91, 92. But dude, in 1990, I was such a huge Steiner Brothers fan. That would continue for 91, of course. But some point in 92, I started to peter out on wrestling for a bit. But obviously now I'm way too deep for that to ever happen again. But God, how great were the Steiners. And now knowing they're going to take on Arn Anderson, I got to tell you, when I saw this lineup, when we were picking topics, this is the match I wanted to see most of all.
Right. I love Scott Steiner. I love Rick Steiner. Wow. Arn wasting no time, buddy. I love hot starts. Love freaking hot starts. But I watch out. Arn's like, leave me alone. That's so fucking cool. I liked Scott Steiner as a Steiner brother better than I did like Big Papa Pump.
Oh, yeah, I didn't like Big Papa Pump.
Yeah, Big Papa Pump was like, it
was just okay.
It was okay.
Right. But the Steiner brothers as a tag team here
were awesome.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Scott Steiner's promos. I love his presentation and all that. But just like you and I talked a few weeks ago, and there was actually a lot of chatter on this online. Which version of Hulk Hogan did you prefer?
Right.
Black and white or red and yellow? And I think we both agreed we liked red and yellow. And I still prefer. And don't get me wrong, Rick Steiner as a singles, man, when he's coming in with Watts and all he did in the Watts territory, badass, dude. I mean, I love both of these guys as singles, but they are just my absolute favorite as a tag team and will be forever. And of course, now, 5 or 6 years ago, we were nicknaming them School Board and Ham Cubes. Look at Scott Steiner, though. Tell me he doesn't look like right here. Yeah. Main eventer. And I know in 91, as the story goes, he had that clash match with Ric Flair and he felt like Flair sandbagged him. Yeah. And everyone said so in the newsletter. I mean, it was apparent. So it's not just Scott making things up, but Flair at the time had a lot of political shit going on. And so he couldn't really focus on giving Scott the best match. He had to do what he needed to do to protect himself because he's in a bitter feud with Hurd and he's going to be leaving. And I get that. But what if he got full tilt Flair? There's a chance that, later in 91, Scott Steiner could have been the guy. And I even freestyled with Hogan, or not Hogan, freestyle with Pritchard once, that Scott Steiner could have been a great opponent for Hulk Hogan. And Bruce agreed and said they even tried the idea of maybe he wins a Royal Rumble and then he goes on to WrestleMania, but Scott wouldn't do it. He didn't want to be a single. He didn't want to leave his brother behind. He wanted to look out for his brother and make sure they were together. And I think that's super noble, but man, what if? And the other thing we freestyled, and you and I never really talked about this, was what about Dustin versus Hogan? Since you couldn't get Dusty at his peak physically against Hogan, what if you could get Dustin versus Hogan? And you're
talking about Dustin, not Goldust,
just Dustin Rhodes,
right?
And according to Bruce, I think he said someone, whether it was Vince or Hogan, vetoed it because they felt like Dustin had, quote, buggy whip arms.
Oh, really? Well, he did have long, thin arms, but buddy, Dustin Rhodes could work a freaking match.
Compare wrestlers today.
Yeah.
With Dustin back then.
Yeah.
Holler back at me about those buggy whips.
Exactly. Exactly.
I know it's a different time, but it's like, guys, this is stupid.
Oh, no, you're right. It's stupid because if he can give you a great match and if you're involved in the match and it brings him in, what does it matter if his arms are gigantic and if he's strong? Hey, you know what? We were just watching that U.S. tag team title match and people were watching something else.
Yep.
Most people are watching this match right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody's paying attention to this.
Exactly.
As well they should be.
Mm-hmm. What's that, a horseman sign there? Something, horseman divided, stand. I don't know.
Maybe, divided we stand, or you know what I mean.
It's weird because I first saw it with Norman here, and then I've seen it with, I guess, the Road Warriors, and now everybody has a Sting black armband on, as if Sting had passed away or something. And I get it, he's out, and they blame the Horseman for doing that. That's the angle, but I don't know. I think the armband's a little bit too much.
I like it because you remember this is the same year, later this year, where Earthquake would squash Hulk Hogan. And you had those little bracelets that you would wear and you would write a letter to Tugboat and all that shit. Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. I get it on that end. God, Ole just same old boots, same old trunks. Ole Anderson.
I love it.
Yeah, man. Nothing fancy about Ole.
Look how tan Arn Anderson is here.
Isn't it something?
He's got it down pat, son.
Yes, buddy. And this is before spray tans, guys.
Yeah, he's in a tanning bed or on the beach to make
right. Right, exactly.
Which is kind of fun when you think about.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you make sure you're able to do that? Traveling like you are.
Right.
I mean, it's a process.
Yeah, and some people tan better than others. There, he's talking right there. So pull away, camera. So, but you know, Arn always said, "Fat looks better brown."
It's a great line.
It is a great line.
People still quote it to this day too.
Yeah, and another great Arn Anderson line. Look at that, man! Tremendous, tremendous from Rick Steiner. Another great Arn Anderson line was when I asked him. I said, "You never did much off the top rope, did you? You never cross-bodied or?" And he said, "That's because you can't pin anybody in the air."
It's true.
And he has it right. Oh God, his logic is amazing.
Can't pin anybody in the air. Well, now I'm obsessed with thinking about your kids trying to take over the Schiavone household.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I think it would be super fun.
Yeah, well, I'm not going anywhere yet.
No, you talk like you're, nearly dead.
At my age, it could happen anytime. I mean, sometimes I get a little twinge, just a little
twinge. What does that mean?
Twinge in my chest, and I go, "Oh, maybe this is it." You just never know. I mean, poor old Bob Saget thought he was going to have another show the next day. Boom, gone. And Bob's my age.
You're thinking about this way more than you should be.
No, I don't think I am. I think when you get my age, I think you think about it. I think you realize that are more days behind you than are ahead. And I remember, like the other day, I was going through some stuff and thinking, maybe I should keep that. And then I'm thinking, why should I keep it? It's not like I'm going to be around for another 30 or 40 years to enjoy it. Just, you get to my age, you think about things like that. And I don't think about them in a depressive mode. I just think about that's the way I think.
Interesting.
So that's it.
Hearing you think.
Hearing me think.
Hey, Cassio Kid asked me something the other day that is a little crude, a little foul.
Really, from him?
No, I don't know that we should be talking about it, but would you feel comfortable enough having an uncomfortable conversation, or should we not do that today?
Go ahead. I mean, I don't want, let's listen. Okay, go ahead.
Cassio phrased it as, I know you remember. We all remember. But tell us about the first time you remember something coming out of your ween.
I don't remember that.
Oh, yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Well, tell us about the most recent time.
No, that's, you're looking for shit to talk about.
I am.
Yeah.
I admitted it. I asked you to do it, and then you did.
Okay. So we got a great match going on here. And you want to talk about
it is a great match.
Yeah, stuff coming out of my ween. And you called it a ween.
What was I supposed to call it?
I don't know. After your ween.
So let's talk about what Meltzer said here. He said Rick Steiner and Scott Steiner kept the NWA tag team titles, beating the Anderson quote unquote brothers. Rick Pandoli with an inside cradle in 1604. How many different relations over the years have they claimed for Ole and Arn? I can recall nephew and uncle, cousins, brothers, and maybe even a father-son billing a time or two.
Yeah.
The match started slow and didn't really get going until about the 13-minute mark. Arn is tremendous on every spot. Scott clotheslined his left arm on the ring post, and they worked it over for a few minutes until he hit the Frankensteiner out of nowhere. and gave Rick the hot tag, and he pinned Ole. After the match, Arn held Scott's arm, and Ole leaped off the top rope onto it and gave him a quote unquote minor injury, 2.5 stars. And of course, after this, it's our main event. And it was supposed to be Sting beating Ric Flair. Instead, it's going to be Ric Flair and Lex Luger going 38 minutes and 7 seconds. And this pay-per-view extravaganza ends with a fucking count out.
Wow. 38 minutes in the count out. Well, what do you do, right?
Have you managed to see Rick Steiner's son crushing motherfuckers in NXT yet?
I have not.
You should go out of your way to see it.
Looks good.
Oh, he's the best, dude. Like, I don't know how when you see him, you'll get excited.
Okay.
Speaking of excited, of course, everybody's talking about Dynamite tonight. Tony Khan has promised that the forbidden door will be opened once again.
Yep.
And that whoever it is welcome to slam the door shut on their previous company, which has led to a ton of speculation. And of course, everybody knows, as we reported earlier in this program, Shane McMahon was backstage this past Wednesday at Dynamite.
That's a lie.
He was negotiating the terms of his new deal.
That's a lie.
So tune in later tonight on TBS.
Okay, that's a lie.
First time we've seen Shane on TBS ever.
Yeah.
Pretty excited about that.
Okay. If Shane shows up on TBS, things will come flying out of my ween.
My God.
No, it ain't happening, Shane McMahon. Stop. Oh, well, we'll see what the forbidden door brings. You never know. Tony does a great job of keeping it quiet
and keeping engaged with the fans.
Right. I didn't know when they pulled Danhausen out from under the ring. I didn't know. I was like, whoa, Danhausen's here, who just makes me laugh, man. I had not seen enough of him to really know what he was about, but since he's joined us, I have. And it's just entertaining stuff.
Great guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff.
I don't know how anybody could not be a fan of that guy. You got to pull for that guy.
Yeah. Mike Dawkins told me all about him. He said, you don't know anything about Danhausen? This was during like C2E2. No, this was like the New York Comic Con because he was down there for High Spots. He and Orange Cassidy were down there for High Spots. And I said, no, I don't know anything about him. He said, man, he's just like entertaining. He's just like, this horror character, but he's funny. And I said, wow. So anyway, going back to the thing. So when he pulls Danhausen out from under the ring, I go, I didn't know what to say because again, Tony does a great job of keeping it quiet who he's going to bring in. So just had a taping in Orlando at Universal. Those are always a lot of fun. And I say they're a lot of fun because they are so different than anything else we do. We don't have the pressure of live TV, just taping matches. And so it's a lot more fun backstage, I think, a lot more laid back. And I do want to say this.
Say it.
Okay. And I know he had been a wrestler before. I'd never seen him wrestle.
Okay.
But Sanjay.
Oh, dude, he's so good.
I'm telling you, I don't know why we didn't hire this guy. I don't know why we didn't hire Sanjay at the beginning of AEW.
Well, because he worked for WWE and he quit.
Okay.
He quit to come work with y'all. But Sanjay, go out of your way to see some of his matches. I first saw him on MLW TV probably, I don't know, 18, 19 years ago.
Right.
And they did like a double cage War Games.
Yeah.
And I saw him springboard from one top rope to the other ring's top rope, then down to the floor. And I was like, who the fuck is this? And how did he become my favorite wrestler this fast?
Right.
And then, he did phenomenal things on the independents and of course, with a lot of different promotions like Ring of Honor and TNA and blah, blah, blah. But goodness gracious, what a talent. And now a mind for the business and fan of the show. He listens to our stuff. So shout out to Sanjay for all of his contributions in wrestling. One of the unsung heroes for sure.
He is so good as a coach, and he is so good as a producer. I told him, I said, man, you are phenomenal. And
oh, there it is, Frankensteiner, the hottest move in 1990. Look at the crowd.
Yeah.
Steiner cannot follow it up with a pin. He caught that shot.
That Frankensteiner, man, was a hot move.
Oh, sure it was.
Hey, I want to mention there's a report here as we march towards this pay-per-view from the Observer. With the pay-per-view show just a few days away, there are some things that need to be brought out. There are several major problems with the NWA that are no secret. There are too many people in charge, some of who don't know a thing about wrestling, and the organization is in a constant battle to get anything done. Everyone is constantly under fire, and that's the problem. For this group to make it, long-term planning must be done. But the way things are, any long-term planning is a ridiculous waste of time. How can bookers book months in advance or even a year in advance, as the management keeps insisting, when management and the company in general have been so erratic at keeping talent in the fold? Also, it is unfair for there to be constant heat on getting results at house shows and pay-per-views now, which causes constant hot-shotting of angles. And he would say, and no long-term building, which would be in the group's best interest. Last week, I brought up a scenario about Scott Steiner, who could have been Brian Pillman or anyone created to shoot up to the top immediately as a new babyface superstar, which is most desperately needed. Instead, Lex Luger was turned, and the turn was great. Most of the turns were great. In short term, it will work far better than what I suggested. But today, the NWA still has only two single headliners capable of working on top, Ric Flair and Lex Luger. Instead of sacrificing TV time to build up a new one for the long run, the committee, which is constantly under the gun for immediate TV ratings and immediate results, once again did the best thing for the short haul. And I can't blame them, because what is the use of long-term building when A, you don't know who will be with the company when long-term comes, and B, there's this constant threat of changing the booking if someone has a long-term idea. Odds are good they won't be around to implement it, and it'll change course if it ever gets there. While the Flair turn was done at a time when not enough faces were establishing top guys, then Sting got hurt and another turn was needed. This time it was for Luger. But the pressure was so strong that this pay-per-view had to do a goodbye rate. The committee did the ultimate hot shot, turning of the Horsemen before the pay-per-view to build Flair and Sting. Sting is out and nobody else is ready, so another turn is ready, or another turn is needed. Everyone just wants results too quickly. Let's look at Titan for a moment. If there were as many people with a hand in the decision making, whoever decided to push Dino Bravo, let's say, or any new star, would be under fire as if it was the NWA, and it would be incredible. Yet in reality, while the course of a guy like Bret Hart or Rick Martel would be more deserving of the spot than Dino the Dinosaur, in the whole scheme of things, it's the outside marketing and positioning of the TV and getting stars over to the public as celebrities that's been a key to Titan's success. Mm-hmm. All of those things have nothing to do with the booking. In the NWA, it's impossible for the bookers to look good unless they do a show like Saturday's TBS show or the Baltimore Bash, which you just simply can't do on a regular basis. They're just constantly judged on house show performance, some of which is their fault, some of which is totally out of their hands. So much blame has been doled out from both sides, it just makes the entire organization look like a disaster. And really, the organization is not a disaster. The television shows have been consistently improving. The ratings are way up. The syndication needs some improvement, but with all the weaker stations and time slots, they aren't that far behind the WWF given all their advantages. They are ahead in the cable ratings, but there are still major problems. The constant no-shows at house shows have destroyed many cities. In more than 1 year of running the organization, this problem has to be rectified. The nature of wrestling, particularly the NWA style, leads to injuries. So no showing has to be accepted by the fans who aren't realistic. However, others are less acceptable. I knew back in November that Steve Williams was going to work in the Tokyo Dome card on February 10th. So did the company. Yet Williams was booked on dates in Texas that same weekend. Is this deliberate? Maybe, but probably not. It's probably just an oversight. But it's another example of oversights that constantly happen and need correcting. Another problem in the NWA relates to its one advantage over the WWF, the wrestling product. People who have been around wrestlers from both groups always comment to me, and I've noticed this myself, that WWF wrestlers in general go from town to town, put in their time, but don't speak enthusiastically about their performance because it doesn't matter. One of the first things anyone entering Titan has done is always break their spirit. The spirit is what gives you that enthusiastic live show performance, and it's the same spirit that makes one rebellious because that performance is important to the individual. When the performance isn't important, there's less complaining about what is asked to be done. When wrestlers care greatly, maybe even too much, as was the case with Paulie Dangerously, every little aspect becomes important, and it leads to a powder keg environment with wrestlers getting frustrated a lot more by the lack of push or by their rules. The truth is, for running a promotion, the least amount of headaches, the way McMahon does it, works. And it also leads to generally unenthusiastic performances by the talent. What do you make of that? The enthusiasm piece.
I agree with almost everything he said there.
Yeah.
I really do. I think you could cut it to the chase and say that TBS had no reason to own wrestling or shouldn't have owned wrestling. Because again, I go back to the points to where they did a lot of hot shotting and Vince went in for the long term. But as far as enthusiasm is concerned, is he saying that all of Titan's wrestlers were unenthusiastic about doing their work?
He is.
I mean, we saw good matches in the WWE back in those days, right?
Oh yeah, I mean we saw him, but this is known as the better wrestling product. How about Sting wearing a watch here? I don't remember ever seeing Sting wear a watch. I'm sure he did, but it sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
I mean, I
listen,
go ahead.
I listen to you say that Dave had some very well placed backstage people.
Yes.
He really, really did. When he talks about wrestlers being unenthusiastic, he knows somebody who says that.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, he's not just watching TV and bringing up that on his own. You know, people are saying, hey, you know, our guys are not enthusiastic, blah, blah, blah. And again, I think about this when everybody is saying this is where Sting would have won the world title against Ric Flair.
Yeah.
How do you know that? Someone told him that, right?
Right.
So I think Dave's a hell of a writer, buddy. But I really think he really, as far as comparing the two promotions, he really hit the nail on the head with that one, what you just said.
So Sting came out, waved to the fans, didn't say much, didn't say anything, didn't do anything, just acknowledged the fans, and now he's in the back. And Lex Luger's out, sporting that U.S. title that nobody can find. Of course, that's the one that Nikita Koloff destroyed, but nobody's ever been able to find that U.S. title either. Two really cool belts that we've seen here today that everybody's wondering, where did they go?
Well, somebody's got them, don't you think?
I wish they would, let a brother know, hey, it's Conrad. I got cash and whatnot. Love to have those two.
I got cash and whatnot.
Yeah, you want Bitcoin, you want Ethereum, you need some Doge. Here comes the old pink robe and a woman by his side.
What's Doge?
Dogecoin is a meme coin that Elon Musk convinced the world was going to go to the moon. And it enjoyed crazy growth last year. And now people are realizing, it's kind of just a gimmick.
Yeah.
But here comes Ric Flair in the pink robe that WWE 2K cut up a few years ago. And now millions of fans across the world own a little piece of that robe. Well, I say millions, thousands of fans.
Right.
Piece, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Nancy had quite a presence herself, didn't she?
Man, when she's out here in this prom dress, I mean, she's looking like she's ready to turn letters on Wheel of Fortune.
Yes, sir. There's Tony Gillum again as she walks in, and again, we're talking Horseman country here, so we're talking about Ric Flair and
in Greensboro,
in Greensboro,
the world title the second time,
right?
The original Starrcade,
right? And a lot of people cheering him. So even though he comes across as a heel,
Let's track it a little bit.
That's what I want is my buddies and my pals. The pals that I've thought to say that. That means it all.
He has beaten every great star at their peak in his career. He dominated the 80s like no other athlete has ever dominated a decade in wrestling.
I'll say this, he might have beat me, but I'm not going to say he's any better than me, Ross. Are you trying to get me to admit that?
No, sir.
Well, you don't do it, because I won't.
I love Terry Funk, but I'm okay with him not doing commentary.
Yeah, me too. You know, there's a story that when I came back to WCW, that Jim Hurd asked me if I wanted to work with Terry Funk on Worldwide. And I said, yeah, it's fine with me. I said, that's not my decision. I've never worked with Terry before. And apparently Hurd went to Funk in his way of doing business and running a company. Says, Schiavone says he wasn't really sure that he wants to work with you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. But Terry was cool with that. Terry and I really, because Terry had left soon after that. And they first stuck me with Kevin Sullivan on Worldwide. I don't know. And they stuck me with so many different people. And I really, in hindsight, would have liked to work with Terry and work with him more, but he wasn't the best, but he had a presence and he was Terry fucking Funk, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. But Terry's always a cool guy.
Nick Patrick laying down the rules. And that crowd is hot for this.
Yeah, man.
I mean, listen, I understand the criticism, but this is a cool stare down here. Oh, let's
To get your best friend, you better be at your very best in life. You're talking to the world champion.
Yeah, man, that makes it real.
dude, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And they're going to go 38 minutes here. Flair had the pink robe on, got the pink boots, the blue knee pads, the pink trunks. Luger, not in his signature blue stuff. He's in fact wearing neon yellow trunks, or maybe they're green. I'm colorblind. And he's got those boots on with white boots, black laces, and on the side, I think they say Ruse. Of course, they're not actually Ruse boots, but
they're sponsoring him. Yeah.
He's their top baby face. They probably want him to wear that since they got the sponsorship with WCW. And man, Luger does look like $1 million here physically. This is as good as a human can look in this era. My goodness.
Yeah, he's an amazing looking guy, and you know, JR always got him on him because he thought his hair was too long, and he had great traps, and he thought that hair covered up those traps.
He's not wrong.
No, he's not. But I love how Flair works. You know, works the pace of a match.
Yeah.
You either with Ric Flair, you either start out slow, and they're kind of starting out slow here, or you start out fast.
Yes.
Just another reason why he was in his prime. There was nobody better. Not because he could give you a good match, but because he could design a good match, or if you want to use the word, choreograph a good match. I mean, everything that went on in the ring here is Ric Flair calling.
Right.
So, I mean, you can't think of anybody better now today. You know, both guys call stuff, but when you worked with Ric Flair back then, he did it. See, and you notice when he got up, he put his hand over his mouth.
Yep.
He told Nick Patrick to push me. When he got up that time, he had his hand over his mouth. He told Nick Patrick, shove me, and Patrick did. Just, I love watching. I love trying to watch, and I've seen so many Flair matches. You have too. But as we look at them again from years later, I love trying to watch to see if I can see him call a match.
Yeah, just see what's happening.
See what's happening. See how he's talking right now. Okay. Looks like he's talking shit, and he probably is, but he's also calling some shit.
Yeah. Pose. Do this. Do that.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Ric
Ric Flair's the puppet master here.
Yeah, man. It was,
Let me read what Meltzer said about this match.
okay.
As I think I mentioned earlier, he gave it 4.5 stars.
That's pretty fucking good.
I wouldn't call this a classic on the level of Flair Steamboat matches, but it was a near classic. The first 20 minutes were good, but mainly the building process. They started going to near falls at 25 minutes. And I should point out that Luger had probably 90% or more of the crowd support. For whatever reason, this time the turn worked even in the Carolinas. If you recall, back in 85, when Flair did his big heel turn before Starrcade, the Carolina crowd stayed almost as much with him as they did with Dusty Rhodes, which says something about how either popular Sting is or about Rhodes. They brought Sting to ringside on crutches when the match started. Luger's ring work isn't good as a face. He was good here, even though he did screw up 2 spots. Flair was exactly what you'd expect from Flair on a big show. In other words, the best there is. Sting came out at the 32-minute mark when Flair had Luger in the figure 4 and Luger reversed it. From this point on, the heat was incredible. It was so good that at about 34 minutes, a fight broke out in the stands and nobody watched the fight or took their eyes off the match. This is the first time I've seen a fight break out during a match when none of the attention is taken away from the ring. Lots of close near falls on Flair, a few on Luger as well. After Nick Patrick took his obligatory bump and Luger got a few visionary falls on Flair with no referee, Luger put Flair in the torture rack. Ole and Anderson ran down and attacked Sting. Luger drops Flair to help Sting and begins fighting with the Andersons, and Patrick reluctantly counted him out. After the match, Arn gave Luger a DDT, and they went after him until the Steiners made the save. The TV was signing off, so the pay-per-view audience missed the post-match makeup between Luger and the Steiners and Sting. 4.5 stars. And he would continue, while nobody complained about the match itself, and most thought it was a classic or nearly one, the finish was heavily criticized by those who called it a near classic. It was definitely a screw job finish, and on a big show, and this was a big show, these leave a bad taste. The idea was to make the fans hot with the finish in order to keep the chase going. Many weren't going to like any finish except a title change, given the crowd was ready for one. Given the fact that the title wasn't going to change and that Flair wasn't about to pin Luger, the only options were a screw job or a 60-minute draw. A 60-minute draw probably would have been a more classic match, but with Luger's repertoire as a face, it would have been hard for Flair to go the full 60 with him without spending the first 30 minutes building, which is tough for today's fans. Also, the 60-minute match would have gotten points across that they wanted to, which is that Luger can beat Flair, and that the Horsemen have added heat for going after a quote-unquote crippled wrestler. Remember that in 1988, everyone, myself included, criticized the blood finish, which was similar to this of Flair-Luger Baltimore match.
Right.
The finish set up the best house show run that year, with the 2 meeting in rematches around the country. Still, a screw job is reminiscent of the dusty days and the tactics which killed so many of the NWA's best cities. It was Flair's finish, and the 6 minutes leading up to the finish were just incredible. The actual countout was totally unsatisfying at the end. At the same time, in 82, I can recall a similar finish with Flair and David Von Erich in Fort Worth, which set up the famous Flair and Kerry Von Erich match in Christmas night, and that drew a state record gate. As for the Luger win, the crowd was definitely ready to see that. But for reasons I can't even begin to figure out, Luger didn't want the title. Perhaps he knew that if he got it now, there's only one wrestler he could wrestle and have it draw, which is Flair. And if he wrestled others and it didn't draw, he'd get the rep for being on top as champion and not being able to draw. The position he's in now is safer because Flair takes that heat, and the NWA is still a long ways from being ready to consistently draw. Maybe Luger figures it's in his best interest to wait until the company turns the corner before taking the top spot. Maybe Luger doesn't want to win the thing and then drop it back to Flair, which he would probably have to do because Flair Sting is the money whenever Sting is ready. Even so, my own feeling is that basically this Flair Luger thing, because the NWA is trapped in a corner and either doesn't have the confidence that anyone else is ready for a top spot or whatever is going to shoot all the way out right now. It's a long-term angle. Figuring Sting won't be back until mid-August at the earliest, you're talking about this Flair Luger program is going to have to stay strong for 26 more weeks, which may be impossible, but it's not like there are any other options these days. To give you an idea how long 26 weeks is, the legendary Flair Steamboat program at pay-per-view and house shows was 12 weeks start to finish. While Flair Funk was shot in May, the actual house show program lasted 16 weeks and it lost all of its steam by the end. I don't know how they'll be able to keep things interesting for 26 weeks, which includes at least 5 major shows without doing a switch. But the switch isn't guaranteed. And it's certain, but if you're going to, all right, hang on. But the switch isn't guaranteed, but certainly a possibility. But if you're going to do it and you've got a 26-week program, can't you give the payoff in the first match? Or you can't give the payoff in the first match, because how do you keep it interesting in the long run? So a lot written here, and I'm reading it off of an old scan. So some of the words aren't there, but this is real primitive observer, but he makes some great points. But the thing that jumps off the page to me the most, Luger didn't want it.
Yeah, me too. That shows to me either a lack of confidence or it was pretty apparent that Luger did not have the understanding of the business that most of the guys did.
Yeah.
So that could have been part of that as well.
But maybe, Meltzer's onto something, and he knew politically that, now ain't the right time, because I know they're not going to program me with Sting. So I'd have a 3-month run. I don't know. I would have taken it if I was Luger.
Oh yeah. You take it. Lordy. I mean, it took him, 7 years to finally get it.
Well, I don't think it was that long. He debuted in 87, won it in 91, but still.
Oh, he won. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. I was thinking about 97.
Well, you remember they put it on him when Flair left. It was him and
that's
Barry,
right.
Great American
That's right.
Bash.
Yeah, that's right. Now I remember, but he's talking to see Flair got his hand over his mouth talking, telling Nick Patrick and telling Luger, "Bail me out." So I'm thinking here that instead of doing a count out, and I love playing Booker years later.
Yeah.
Don't you think they could have done something to where he really fucks over Lex? The Andersons come down, they slip him a gimmick, he knocks Lex out with the referee's back being turned 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
I mean, that would have been good, right? That would have been, I mean, it's kind of like what I say that obviously from what MJF and CM Punk just did, but I mean, those kind of finishes work, I think, pretty well, keeping the babyface strong and building towards rematches. I always did. You can give them a finish. Listen, you can lose matches. It used to be, oh, he lost, he's done. They're gonna phase me out. They have me do the job. That's not necessarily the case. I don't think. I don't know. Rick a chop, buddy.
I love watching old school wrestling from this era, and I love also talking about the ratings, because Meltzer would report here that the show they ran on TBS before this, which would have been a week prior, the February 17th show.
Mm-hmm.
This is where they did all the turns and all that and set this show up. Everyone says it's the best TBS show in years. It did a 4.0 rating, Tony. It did a 7.8 share, which means it was viewed in 2.13 million homes. Now, these days in 2022, when we talk about ratings, we talk about the number of viewers, not the number of homes.
Right.
So if you figure that each house has 2 folks watching and that's it,
right,
over 4 million people watched the show a week prior to this. 4 million people would be double what watch SmackDown on Fox. Isn't that crazy?
Right. Yeah, it's crazy, but I mean, television has changed since that time too.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying, look at how many people were watching the product. We're talking about, man, they're sucking hind teat. Business is down. Only 4 million people watched it.
That's right.
Now that set an all-time record for the regular weekly telecast. Think about that. But that record that they broke was set the prior Sunday. So while we're sitting here saying, oh, things are down, things are tough, blah, 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 Herds killed the business, record ratings, motherfucker.
Yeah, right. So how about that for an eye-opening thing?
Well, people say, oh, Flair couldn't book. Flair was terrible, blah, blah, blah. Flair booked these shows that are getting record ratings.
Right.
Herd was terrible. Herd did nothing. He was the worst. There's a Ruse sponsorship. There's a Coors sponsorship. There's an M&M Mars sponsorship. The Steiners are tearing it up. Vader's coming in. Steamboat and Funk just had classics. Sting is the man. And oh, by the way, record ratings. I know he was a tyrant and he was a pain in the ass and he wasn't good to people and he created chaos and it wasn't as well organized. But it wasn't all bad either.
No, they did. They didn't realize what they had, I guess, at that time.
They're going to do a little write up here in the Observer. Says this came in off the wire service this morning. Jim Herd was hosting a press conference at CNN Center announcing the opening of a new $1 million production center that the NWA will use to post-produce its TV show and give the shows the glitz and production values comparable to the WWF. Which may mean nothing to you, but in theory, it should help the NWA improve its syndication network, which is a real big deal and a must in this country. At the conference, Herd said that he's trying to negotiate the rights to use names of famous movie characters that Turner owns, like Rhett Butler, etc., and introduce them as wrestling characters. An example he gave was if they could find a 6'5", 275-pound man with one leg, they could bring him into wrestling as Long John Silver. In fact, the lead of the story asked if Rhett Butler could pin the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Anyway, if this was just a stunt to get a few lines of publicity in the paper, fine. But I've got this gut feeling he's serious.
Yes, he was.
If that's the case, Jim, make a multi-million-dollar offer to Jim Abbott as the ultimate babyface. Put a mask on him and call him Captain Hook. He would also write, at the Greensboro show, there was a sign that says, "We've heard enough" in the front row.
Right.
Anyway, the sign was shown early in the show, and a few of the wrestlers who noticed it tried not to, with one exception. And since it was in the front row, cameras caught the sign. Doug Dillinger came out and was nice about asking Hitchcock not to display the sign anymore.
Yeah.
Considering the vast majority of those viewing on pay-per-view had no idea what the sign meant, one could use a very valid point that it was a bit overreacting. Still, having been with Titan TV tapings, well, you know the story there. As it turned out, Hitchcock displayed the sign pretty regularly, and it was in the background during the Flair Luger main event.
Yeah. Hitchcock came from a place to where he was from the Carolinas and he loved Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling.
Yep.
And thus he wanted Jim Crockett to run the company. And I get that. That's where that's what I'm theorizing, and I think I'm right on that. So I understand that. I laugh at this this new production facility that we had. It was a fucking turd. And and I say that because, okay, I when I was offered the job and I came to Atlanta with Lois to look over, to consider things. And I met Keith Mitchell, I think on a Saturday at that production facility. He showed it around to me. And although it had a lot going for it, I had come from something much bigger and much more polished. And so to me, it was like, I wasn't impressed with it at all. And maybe it's because of where I'd been in the WWE, but I was like, eh. And I remember, and I should have heeded the advice. And this first time I met Keith, and Keith said, "So you're thinking about coming here?" I went, "Yeah." He said, he looked at me and smiled. He said, "You sure about that?" I said, "No, I'm not." Maybe I should have read between the lines on that Saturday afternoon. But I thought the production facility was a little freaking hole in the wall next to a Chinese restaurant down in the CNN Center. I just didn't like it at all. And then, of course, we moved out of there, and Eric had moved us, to this new place, which, was like an old warehouse in Cobb County, but we had a very nice production facility there and a very nice a very nice studio. That was nice. What we had in the salad days of WCW, really nice.
I want to read something else that was in the Observer back then. So, a guy named Dale Norris wrote in. This is back when Dave did reader pages.
Yeah.
And Doyle says, in all honesty, how much attention do you think Ted Turner personally pays to the NWA? My guess would be not much.
Right.
He'd be great in an angle. Turner could be there to help with some on-air promotion or even do a guest appearance on a pay-per-view show or Clash. He's not Mike Tyson, but he'd still get some press if he took an active part in the promotion. Interesting.
Yeah.
Meltzer says it would be safe to say Turner basically has no involvement whatsoever in the promotion, other than it is his company that he owns that signs the checks. Jack Petrick is the ultimate man in charge. There have been suggestions at times of using Turner, or at least his name, in promotions, like a Ted Turner Cup, where he'd present the winners a trophy. But it seems he wants no public involvement with him.
Right.
The manner in which the NWA has handled relations with, never mind, that's the next one. But still, I just thought that was interesting that somebody's freestyled, hey, what if?
Right.
That's kind of fun to think about. What if?
Yeah, you know, that's something that we thought about it. We discussed a lot. I remember saying something to Hurt about that, and Hurt would always kind of blow it off like, I don't know if he wants to do it, or I don't know if he can, or I don't know if I'll be honest with you. We always depended on Hurd or Petrick to go to Turner with stuff.
Yeah.
And either they did and he blew them off one time and then they didn't want to do it again, or they just thought he didn't want to do it. You know, he did come and met with all of us right before Christmas at one time in the Omni Hotel, the ballroom. And I remember he did say, he said, listen, I know WCW's losing money. He said, but CNN lost money for 10 years.
Yeah.
Before we made a profit. So you got to stick with it, and we're going to stick with it. And it made everybody feel good. And Rick came out of that meeting. I remember Flair saying that was a great, great speech, made us feel good about going into the holidays. And that was when also Big Van Vader said, could I have your autograph, Mr. Turner?
Oh, God.
He did. Any question, Mr. Turner? Yes. Leon White here. Yeah, he did. Like, I don't know the verbiage, but he said, yeah, Mr. Turner, I'm just really excited to meet you. And could I have your autograph? That's what he said. And we all like fucking, I don't know if there was laughing out loud or not in the room.
It was laughter or embarrassment. One of those.
Yeah. Right. So, but he did give a good speech, and he basically let us know that even though times were, you know, we were losing money, that he was going to stick with it. And he believed in wrestling to the very end, buddy. I mean, you know, and I think we've established it here on this podcast that I think we all knew once he was out of power, we were done. I really think so. So you were look at this. They did pretty good. That was a fucked up movie. They did pretty good with that. Well, you were going to say something else about Meltzer here?
Yeah. Once the show is behind us, as he's recapping this show, he says, expect as the year goes on, this group to turn more into a Southeastern regional promotion. The problem is that if the pay discrepancy between similar level performers here and in the WWF gets wide, it'll become a situation where the WWF can cherry pick the most marketable talent, which would make it difficult for the NWA to maintain enough respect to draw profitable pay-per-view numbers. Easy for me to say.
Right.
And that is the future of the business. And the reason that in the long run, the NWA should survive and eventually flourish. The top talent like Flair, Sting, and Luger are all under long-term contracts with 2 years more to go in Flair and Sting's case. And I think 3 for Luger. So none are in danger of going anywhere. By the way, it would also be written here, Zink and Pillman are now top candidates to be in the fourth horseman spot. Quote, Flair wants Pillman. Now, eventually he would get it. Man, can you imagine Zink and Pillman? Ugh.
That wouldn't have worked.
I much prefer Jim Cornette's freestyle of, hey, have woman buy the contract of the Midnight Express.
Yeah.
Dude, Flair and Arn, Stan and Bobby, that's tremendous.
That would have
because
been
what it would have given you an opportunity to do is something kind of fun that on the surface, I'm sure everybody who hears that at first glance says, okay, so Flair's going to be the world champ, Arn's going to be the TV champ, and the Midnight Express will go for the tag belts. And yes,
Right.
that will work. But without Cornette as part of the presentation, we could also pivot. We could have had Bobby and Arn have become the greatest tag team in the fucking history of tag teams.
Right.
I mean, the two greatest tag team wrestlers probably that ever lived.
Right.
And then giving Stan a shot at the TV title. That would have been tremendous, man.
Yeah, it would have been.
And then maybe there becomes a hot issue one day because you tell the story that Stan was recruited and trained by Ric Flair, which is a real life story.
Mm-hmm.
And then Stan somehow finds himself in the spot where he has a title shot, and will he or won't he? I mean, lots of opportunities. Did you see that? Flair told Luger wrong leg. As he pulled him out, he was about to slam a leg. Luger had both legs by the ankles, dropped one, and Flair quickly told him, nope, wrong leg. So he drops that one, goes back to the other leg.
Yeah, and you know what? The fans are into this one too, man. See him standing up there?
Oh, God.
Oh, Lordy is right. Oh, Lordy, bless his heart.
Luger had not the foggiest idea how to do a figure four, and Flair knew it.
Yeah,
he quickly escaped, thumb to the eye. Nope,
yeah.
I ain't gonna get it. We gotta sell that leg though.
I know, but talking to him, his head was down the rope that time.
Telling him what to do.
Yeah, tell him here.
Again, more.
Yeah, Flair was so good at it back then. If you didn't realize what he was doing, you didn't. I don't know what that was about.
Telling him what to do. One more time.
Yeah.
Time body slam me, big boy.
Right. Yeah. The first time they just collided and Luger fucked it up. So Flair went back to it. Now Flair's talking to him here too. Got the hand over the mouth. Again, hand over the mouth. He's getting up. He's got his hand up. He's talking. Boom.
Oh man, he's not selling it. Let's track it.
Oh, don't know what happened there. Flair wanted him to flex, but I don't know if that was the right one. That guy in the yellow shirt, man, he's believing this shit. Look at him.
That's security, I think.
Yeah, but still he's believing.
He's thinking, is tonight going to be the night? I've got to hang on to it. I've got to keep this thing. This is my life. It's all on the line tonight.
He's got both arms. Side.
Has anyone ever won with a backslide?
Yeah, man. In the whole Flair Steamboat thing, they did a bunch of backslides.
Backslide pins. Okay.
I love backslides. Backslides are not used enough. We need a campaign. Hashtag bring back the backslide.
Flair's talking to him the whole time. He's getting his head hit right here. Oh.
What can we get you to say on TV this week? Can we get you to say maybe he should try a backslide, Excalibur? What's something you could work in? Well, everybody loved confidence. That got over.
Yeah. Wiped his ass out. I used that one. I love saying that.
What was that bullshit you used to say? Oh, that's a Schiavone catchphrase. It was a baseball thing and it wasn't. Oh man, it worked. Flair came off the top rope and he didn't get stopped.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was when somebody would hit a home run. You had a fhrase that you used.
Oh, long fly.
No.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a noise.
A noise. Oh, you're bullshitting now.
No. We had it as a shirt once upon a time. You don't remember this?
No, I don't. Like
Boingo or Bango or
okay.
Dude, come on now. Waka boom.
Waka boom.
See you, motherfucker. You're denying it. Waka boom.
Waka boom.
But you acted like that's your catchphrase, and then when I'm trying to repeat it back to you, you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm just old, man. I'm just old. So you want me to use Waka Boom this week?
Did you ever use Waka Boom for real, or were you just bullshitting us?
I think I was bullshitting you guys.
Yeah, if you hit a Waka Boom this week, that would be huge. We'd really like a Waka Boom if you could work it out.
All right, we'll see. Text and remind me.
Yeah, no problem. Wednesday night. See you then.
Yep.
Hey, and will you I feel like Big Van Vader. Will you get Shane McMahon's autograph for me? Just need his autograph. I don't have it. You know, I got a lot of cool.
This Shane McMahon is such bullshit thing. You are so full of shit.
Everybody knows it's Keith Lee or Bray Wyatt or Okada or Ibushi or Jeff Hardy or Shane McMahon or Killer Cross or
who's the last one you just said? Blue Cross?
Killer Cross. I love you said Blue Cross. Yes, we're having a representative from the insurance company do a run here.
With the exception of Bray Wyatt and Jeff Hardy, I have no idea who these other guys are.
You don't know who Shane McMahon is, you rat soup eating motherfucker?
Yeah, boy, it's not going to be Shane McMahon, so stop it.
You don't know.
Yeah, I do.
I have it on good goddamn authority.
Oh boy, I bet
they've already started building the ring for Wednesday Night Dynamite, and Shane McMahon's already camped out under there, Danhausen style. He's
right now.
He's doing it right now as you're listening to this on Wednesday morning. Shane McMahon is under the ring. He's got a monitor and a bucket.
Bucket. How's he gonna eat? Well, there's DoorDash.
He's got Schiavone. Can you imagine if there were DoorDash deliveries once the doors were open under the ring? Like a whole bag of Olive Garden just
slid through. Oh my God.
No, I'm sure he's got like the Schiavone survival kit. There's a lot of canned meat in there.
Yes. Potted meat, Spam sardines, saltine crackers.
And a case of Surge, or as you call them, which a lot of our listeners pointed out last week. You announced recently that you're forever done with Mellow Yellow Zero, right?
Right. Yeah. Won't drink it again.
And what was your rationale?
Because they pulled it off the shelves during the pandemic.
But specifically, you said you were boycotting.
I moved on.
But you're boycotting a brand.
Right.
Or a manufacturer, rather.
Right.
Who was that?
Coca-Cola.
And now instead, you drink exclusively
Monsters.
Also made by Coca-Cola.
They're not made by Coca-Cola. They're distributed by Coca-Cola, but they're not made by Coke.
Coke bought them.
They did?
Yeah.
Okay.
You didn't know that?
No, I thought they distributed them. I didn't like.
Well, they own 16.7% of Monster. So
16.7%.
And I would assume
that's not buying them. That's investing in them.
So you're not going to drink the bottom 16% just to be safe?
That's right. I'm only going to drink 84% of these drinks.
Throw the rest of that shit in the trash because it ain't no good. Everybody knows that.
That's right.
Tony, I don't know that we talked about this, but
you find the damnedest things to talk about here.
Well, listen, we got to fill this 3 hours. This is a 38-minute match, and you're not helping me.
I'm doing great. We only got 10 more minutes to go in the show, and we're doing great. And the match is what?
I apologize. I'm wrong. I have talked about too much nonsense, too much bullshit. Let's talk about the serious stuff that'll get lots of clicks that everybody wants to hear. Tell me everything you know about Brian Kendrick.
I don't know anything about Brian Kendrick.
This message was brought to you by Tony Schiavone. I don't know anything committee.
That's exactly right. I'm not going to divulge anything backstage about anybody. I'm not going to do that. So
well, listen, you don't want to talk about my bullshit. I figured you had something.
No, I have no bullshit.
Hey, I don't know that you know this or not. Oh, look, here comes Sting. Let's track it.
Because of that man, Sting
who's watching this in the back, who's very dangerous going to be out here. He's out of his mind. He's out of his ever-loving mind coming down to this swing at this time. 2 count. Flair's looking over there. He sees Sting. Luger sees him. Luger trying to reverse the figure 4 and turn Flair all the way over. Instruction. Starting Luger off. Flair taunting Sting. What a sick human being to taunt this guy that he put in the hospital. The heck with him. He's trying to tell Luger to come out. You're out! Come on and kick it, you know what? Luger.
Been a good time for Sting to turn heel right there and hit Luger with a crutch, knock him out. Flair wins.
Here comes.
Yeah, the fans are standing here. They're into this, buddy.
Thank God you weren't on the booking committee long. Why would you turn Sting heel? He's your number 1 merch seller, you rat feeding motherfucker.
I just threw that out there.
So, you're not going to talk to us about Brian Kendrick.
Nope.
You want to tell us about Taz?
His son's become quite the star.
Thanks for that, scoop.
Is there something about Taz that I'm not aware of? Is there a story?
I'm just trying to do whatever I can here on the show since you won't, participate.
Well, I'll participate, but you're not going to get me to divulge any backstage stuff that's going to.
Did you think I really wanted any info? I couldn't give a shit less.
You get shit.
I'm just trying to fill the rest of this godforsaken podcast.
No, it's not. God, we're having a great time today. We're seeing some great matches. We're having some great matches. And telling you, Luger and Flair are tearing it up right here, man. They're tearing it up.
I didn't tell you right before I left for St. Louis. I managed to sprain my ankle.
You did tell me that.
Pretty substantially. And then, of course, I no-sold it, walked around on it all day, and then no-sold it the next day and drove 7 hours to St. Louis.
With heat on it.
Such an idiot. I booked an Airbnb because I wanted to stay at a hotel's for Coco V fears. And Dave Silva and I's dumbass were up 3 flights of stairs in order to get to our bedroom. So between all that and then walking around Friday and Saturday, by the time we came home Sunday, I could barely walk.
Right.
My wife's been working on it, icing, elevating, Epsom salt baths, all kinds of what have you.
Right.
But even now, I don't know, 10 days later, I still got to tape my damn ankle up, and it's hurting for certain.
Wow.
But I saw a comment that said, man, you're always so bubbly and cheery on the podcast, and you were great when you were on stage. But when I talked to you when you were walking to the bathroom, you did not seem happy to talk. It's like, first of all, I was about to piss my pants. And secondly, with every step, I'm thinking, well, my foot's going to break. This is it. This is the worst pain ever. But I'm trying to do one of these, hey guys, and still go to the bathroom. So if you were there and you didn't get your normal Conrad experience, sorry about that. But I will not be putting on any type of wonky shoes like that ever again. And hopefully that won't happen. When was the last time you sprained your ankle?
God, it had to be back in high school.
Well, it was substantial. It sucked, dude.
Is that one of those sprains where you can hear it crack when you sprain it? When it happened, you could hear the ligaments stretch or.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like a gunshot or anything. Like I've torn my ACL before, and that you could hear that pop.
Yeah, right.
Oh, look at this. Flair's got him up top for the superplex.
Let's hear this impact. He's on top again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's pinned 3 times there. 33 counts. That's 9. Anderson. And Anderson. Flair is in big trouble.
See, that's why right here they could have slipped Luger or slipped Flair something, and with the referee out, lost the match.
The biggest man in wrestling today.
There it is, the rack. Here's your count out.
So they had a double team on Sting. Flair let go of the rack and starts taking on both guys. And the ref should have been calling for a DQ right now because the guys are punching Luger. He's not. Instead, Nick Patrick makes the count out reluctantly. Can't believe it. That's it. Let's track it.
Cups are coming in.
Yeah, a little bit of trash is now we see Nick Patrick laying on top of Ric Flair for some reason. Oh, here's the Steiners.
Those Steiners are in the ring. It's a good thing they got.
Who's the guy holding the belt right there?
That's Tony Gillum, the kid I talked about from Raleigh, he became our ring announcer.
Let's listen to Jim Ross do commentary here.
He's got him in it. There you see Sting and Ole Anderson right there. There you see him holding him hostage, Arn Anderson, right at this particular time. Ole Anderson picks up that crutch. Luger sees it. He comes out of the ring for the compassion of another man. I'll tell you what, he had the world's championship at that time, but he came down and out of the ring. I know that I wouldn't do it. There you see the referee counting at this particular time. Both men are hanging on to him.
What a shocking situation here. Luger counted out of the ring. Fans, thanks very much for being with us here at WrestleWar Wild Thing. For Terry Funk, I'm Jim Ross. We'll appreciate you very much. We'll see you again, Tuxedo Terry, on May 19th for Armed and Dangerous from Washington, D.C.
Boy, you talk about it.
So it's called Armed and Dangerous, but you can see that eventually, as we know, it became Capital Combat. But yeah, that's going to bring us to an end here for WrestleWar 90. Coming up next week, we're doing something kind of fun.
Oh, hey.
We're going to be watching Super Brawl 7. And I think around that same time, Eric Bischoff and I, we're actually going to be breaking down that pay-per-view, but you and I are going to watch it.
Yeah.
Super Brawl 7, February 23rd, 1997 from the Cow Palace. It's Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper on top.
Right.
We got Lex Luger and the Giant working with the Outsiders. We got Chris Benoit working with the Taskmaster, Jeff Jarrett in singles action against Steve McMichael, the Public Enemy taking on the Harlem Heat and the Faces of Fear, Eddie Guerrero in singles action with Chris Jericho, DDP in there with Bagwell. Let my family save your family some cash. You don't need perfect credit. You don't need money out of your pocket, but we will save you money. It's not a matter if, it's a matter of how much. SaveWithConrad.com. Prince Aya fucking Kea taking on
baby.
Rey Mysterio, Conan Laparca, and Volano number 4 taking on Juventud, Super Calo, and Ciclope. And then, boy, what a sleeper this was. Six and Dean Malenko. Big time stuff, man. WCW 1997 was something else. And Tony, with that in mind, it feels like we're out of time here on the program.
We are out of time. And ladies and gentlemen, Tony Schiavone here at ringside, and a very special match we have for you this week. It's going to be Dave Silva facing himself one-on-one. Dave Silva, oh, look at him. He's in the corner. He punched himself into the very rotund gut that he has. He punched himself again. Looks like he's ready to spew, but no, he's going to give himself an Irish whip into the corner. No, that's a dream whip. No, that's a cool whip. No, that's a chocolate whip. He's just given himself in the corner. And now he's going to try to put himself into the rack, into the human torture rack. Dave Silva is a human torture rack in himself, and he's got the torture rack up, and it's torture to see him try to wait a minute. He's I'm wrong. He can't lift himself up. He can. It's a wonder this guy can even go to the bathroom by himself because he cannot even get himself up for a torture rack. But finally, he falls down and looks like he's down for the pin. And yes, he pins himself 1-2. No, he's going to kick out. He's going to roll him up. And my God, he's doing a backslide on himself. Hashtag backslide. Let's see if we can get it back again. And ladies and gentlemen, the match has finally come to an end. And thank God it has come to an end because we have seen enough of Dave Silva for a lifetime. And we'll see you next week on What Happened When. We come to you Wednesdays on Cumulus, but Mondays we come to you only on
Patreon, patreon.com/WHW Monday. And of course, adfreeshows.com. Hashtag bring back backslide.
Ween.
See you next week. Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.